Hello and welcome to another monthly episode of Weekly Shonen Jump. My name is Skylar Hathaway.
I'm Chris Potter.
We are currently streaming from lovely Port Ewan, where it is raining, but it is what it is. POW Card Games and Comics in Port Ewan, more accurately. We have this month the April 2003 issue of Shonen Jump, the American Shonen Jump, which it's got Luffy on the cover over here.
Yeah. So, fourth issue, so far we've been mostly dealing with Naruto and Dragon Ball and a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! On the covers. The stuff that's airing on Cartoon Network, the stuff kids would be into. One Piece has almost no... We've talked about this a couple times before. One Piece doesn't really have a following in America at this time, so we're really... I'm not expecting a lot of the reader, but I guess we're not doing the best we can to sell this magazine this week. We're really just trying to showcase our manga,
Yeah. I like the lineup that they got on the cover over here. Naruto, Sandland, Shaman King, Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z. They got everything you want over in this list. Yu-Gi-Oh! One Piece.
Yeah.
So even if this doesn't sell you, there's plenty of other stuff to look at, clearly. And this image over here is pretty big. Kaiba's a huge character in the course of Yu-Gi-Oh! So his appearance is big.
Yeah.
Move right along here. Yeah. A bunch of this issue is going to be spent on the Jump Festa.
And their trip to Japan. There's a bunch of interludes about the other things they do.
The American editor's trip to Japan.
Yeah.
Which I would argue was not that entertaining for this magazine. But you'll see that as we continue to go along.
Yeah.
There's a joke in here somewhere that Shonen Jump takes no responsibility. What does it say? It says Shonen Jump takes no responsibility, etc. There's something in here somewhere that I was meant to point out that I can't find now, of course. But it was funny. It was like them. Oh yeah, here we go. The management of Shonen Jump takes no responsibility for any heart attacks, fainting spells, coughing fits, intense flatulence, or mild hysteria that may occur as you see, hear, explore, taste, draw, gaze, and read. Just making sure they cover their bases, I guess.
Yeah. Selling us some Dragon Ball GT.
Yeah, I guess this is finally coming over to America, since long ended over in Japan. I'd imagine did pretty well over there. We got some Yu Hakusho on DVD. I guess this has been airing on Adult Swim. Yet to get to Toonami, but it's on Adult Swim. And I think One Piece is starting to air in the U.S. This month or next month, because I think they talk about it a little bit in this issue somewhere.
Yeah. And
here we got the table of contents page.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I say things wrong. It is early in the morning. But we got, here's the lineup, and this is basically exactly how it goes inside of the magazine too, which is cool. Yep. They've switched this up, I think, every single issue so far that we've done.
Based on priority of readership, because we talked about we're trying to sell them on One Piece at the beginning of this. Once we get to the Jump Festa stuff, a lot of that is One Piece stuff because of its popularity in Japan. So as soon as we're done with that, here's what you're here for. We know that's what the kids are buying this magazine for. We're not even going to waste your time this time.
Yeah. I think there's a purpose here, and that'll probably show itself pretty clearly once we get to the actual story that they're going to do in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
There's always a reason for their lineup, or at least that's what I've collected from reading each of these.
I thought this lineup flowed really well this week. It usually flows pretty well, but even there's some good transitions in here.
They open up pretty hard with Yu-Gi-Oh! And then they close really well with both Yu Hakusho and Naruto. And I'm sure Chris is in the same boat as I am, where I was looking forward to this through the whole issue. Yu Hakusho is probably my favorite thing going in this. Naruto's a close second, though. I'm really enjoying reading through Naruto again.
I like everything in this magazine.
I'm not complaining, but these are my favorites.
Yeah.
There's some credits here that we've gone over before. some people that do the English adaptation of the stuff that we're reading here in this magazine. A lot of these people have worked in comics before, like Joe Duffy, like Lance Castleman, like Gary Leach. We're not going to talk about Gerard Jones, who is a child pornographer. We're going to move on to Jump Festa, that me and Chris are probably going to move through pretty quickly.
Yeah. I was pretty disappointed in this article. I feel like they go over the basics of what Jump Festa is, and that's about all they do, you know, letting us know a little bit about culture. On this page, things I find interesting. Huge Dragon Ball exhibit, I mean, very popular in Japan, but they're not selling anything at this time. GT is gone off the air. There's no OVAs. We're really only relying on video games and not even specials. Seeing how much of a presence it has, very impressive. Shows the legacy and enduringness of the Dragon Ball brand. Pretty cool to see. And then my biggest disappointment on this page, we get to see some original art by two creators here. I don't know about you guys. I can't make up any of this. You know, it's so hard to tell. I would have blown this the hell up if I was
That's Kazuki Takahashi.
And that's Shaman King.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see their originals. I think they're original sketches too, not even just pages.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of the fact that the American editors still have no idea what to put into this magazine on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. They're testing the waters. I like this idea of Jump Festa. I've always found it interesting, but I don't know.
It's NYCC for Japanese comics.
It's bigger than that. I'd say it's San Diego Comic-Con for Japanese comics. Yeah. But I don't know that it was interesting. This is how I'd learn about Jump Festa through the years, and I wouldn't even know that they did that without this magazine. But they spend so much time on this in this magazine that I think it takes away from what they could have put it in instead.
Right. And to be fair, if they allocated resources better, this is a good opportunity to get interviews with all these creators that, you know, they don't have to pay for specific interviews.
They might have done that, they might slow drip it through the issues going forward.
They do a little bit. Oh, yeah, okay.
Like, why would they put all the interviews in one issue?
Only note on this page, this car is designed by Akira Toriyama.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got the same note. In addition, they mentioned Bobobo.
A lot. And Tennis King, right?
Yeah. So they just start asking fans what they want to read, what's your favorite jump manga here in the top corner. And it's like sports mangas and Bobobo.
One person mentions Dragon Ball and Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
That's your shonen representation.
Yeah, but specifically the Prince of Tennis. People love the Prince of Tennis.
Yeah.
And I can promise you, Prince of Tennis makes its way into this magazine eventually.
Oh, okay.
So we will see that.
Yeah.
Here they're talking more about like what's going on at the fest. They really spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah. And again, this is kind of what I'm talking about. There's some interview sections here, but they're very bare bones. I must imagine there's more with these creators than these halves of the pages.
Yeah.
So, pretty disappointed that we don't get more. On this One Piece interview, you know, I get that it's hard. We're starting reading this magazine. We're in the early days. But they mention a ton of characters that I don't want to say they expect you to know, but they write it like you would know them or be excited that they exist. Like Bone Clay and Chopper. No one has any idea who this guy is or Bone Clay. Like, I have no idea how you would even... I don't know. I feel like they expect the reader to be excited for something that they just have no reason to be.
Yeah, I think it's just blending into the Jump Festa thing. They mention over here, too, that there's like a little ninja village for Naruto.
Yeah, showing off the GameCube game or something.
There's a little picture of that over here, I think. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I couldn't tell you... I only got like one note out of this interview even, and that's Oda gets asked why Roronoa Zoro is cool, and he said because he's modeled after me. Simple answer, dumb question gets a dumb answer.
Yeah. On his process, he talks about it a little bit. He says he spends a half hour on layouts, an hour on drawing. That's about 2 days of work, if, you know, for a 22-page manga, give or take, maybe 3 days. So I think this speaks to Oda as a scripter, because seems like with his process, he must be spending a day or two just on the script, and I don't think a lot of other mangaka are doing that. I think they're typically spending half a day writing out summaries, just drawing it themselves.
Yeah.
shows he cares more about the story than maybe the guys who came before him.
I'd like to know if he's still doing that. I'd love to know if that's still something that he keeps
I'd imagine the story has only gotten more dense as it's gone along. He would have to.
Moving over to this Masashi Kishimoto interview. And these interviews are super short, and they're not even really interviews. They're more like what they took from the panels, I guess, that these people were on.
Right.
And he mentions that he was trying to really pitch a young boy manga to Shonen Jump. Shonen Jump wasn't buying.
Yeah.
So they got this team book instead that would become Naruto. It's cool. Early version of Naruto, I guess. Here we keep going into Japan. We leave Jump Fest a bit. They start to talk about the American editors' actual trip to Japan, what they did outside of Jump Festa.
Showing off the publisher of Shonen Jump Shueisha, at least the Japanese Shonen Jump. Talk about its various versions. V-Jump, which is in its early days, it's a video game magazine now. This will become the home of Dragon Ball Super and Boruto as its lifespan expands. Cool to see early days of this stuff. Talk about the German counterpart.
Banzai!
Yeah, I think this magazine sounds like a lot of fun. They mentioned they also highlight German creators in here. So,
oh yeah.
I think that sounds neat.
This level 7 page, I think, was the best page out of these two. They mentioned that Shonen Jump was founded in 1968, which is around the same time that Marvel was really hitting their big bubble in comic books. So it just goes to show that the 1960s were a good time for imagination, fiction, and superheroes.
Yeah.
All sorts of submissions and stuff. Some art that was coming through that they have to scan and stuff like that. Little office and stuff. It's cool. I don't know why I made this note. They must mention it somewhere here, but it's the editor's job to visit the mangaka, which I think we've talked about in a prior Jump. But I think that's interesting because that's not anything an American editor would ever do. No. They're not going to do that. But
for quality assurance too, they're checking to make sure. I think they check in with them at the beginning of the week or either the end of the last week, see what story ideas they have, see where the manga's going forward. They clearly care a lot about what they put into this magazine, which, good to see that editors somewhere doing their job.
Yeah, and this is a cool process. It says that the artist would send the editors the name, a rough page layout, and script for the next chapter of the manga. And that's it. And then the editors look it over, make sure it looks good. And then the artist starts to draw the final version and stuff. Yeah. Simple process. I guess it works. Must work. They've been doing this for years.
Yep. Showed a couple of shoujo, Shonen Jump, business type Shonen Jump. Interesting to see how many magazines they publish under the Jump brand.
Yeah, we haven't seen
a bunch of stuff.
We really only seen one of these outside of Shonen Jump in America, which is Shoujo Beat, I believe. I mean, now it's the year 2023. I don't know what the magazine rack looks like for Japanese comic books, but can't be that thick.
Yeah.
Here's some fun toy stuff.
A lot of, One Piece figures. There's a Panda Man figure on one of these pages I thought was funny. Really showing off Shaman King.
Might be on this page.
Yeah, there he is. Jesus.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oda likes to throw that character in the background. Yeah, my only note is really trying to sell Shaman King as big as the other ones. They mentioned that it had just lost its TV anime in the Jump Festa, and they're almost mourning the TV anime in the Jump Festa interview. They talk about their favorite scenes and stuff, and then the manga's continuing at this point. So we're going to see the end of Shaman King's, I guess, popularity in Japan. It's slow dive.
There's a lot of One Piece figures.
Yeah. Really trying with this manga.
So all of these pages so far that would normally be the intro to Shonen Jump, articles about what's to come, things of that nature. Everything here was spent on these editors' trips to Japan, whatever they pulled from Japan. And to me, they didn't pull anything really of value outside of talking about the editor process here, briefly touching upon some of the stuff that the creators have done, and showing the pictures were my favorite part of this, is seeing all of the cool stuff at the actual convention. I mean, this is a convention that happened 20 years ago. So to have these pictures now is a treat to see all these tube TVs, that they had hanging to play the GameCube games and stuff. This Honda that Akira Toriyama had designed that they put into commission. There's a lot of cool stuff here, but I don't know that we need to spend this much time on it. Mostly because as soon as you turn this page, you go straight into Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right.
So we're moving pretty fast with this Shonen Jump, which is fine. But I feel like this could have been a little bit more heavy. Anyway, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to say that this is cool, and this is pretty cool. Look at this opening page.
That's a great cover.
This is a rad-looking thing. It's got the whole Egyptian feel, the whole game aesthetic going on. You got Yami Yugi, you got regular Yugi. There's a lot in just this image, and it's a cool title for the same image matches the title in a way.
Yeah.
You want to see the truth, you have to put the puzzle together to see what's at the end of the puzzle to see the truth. This is the face of truth. It's Yugi. We're going to skip over this page. It's just a summary of what's been going on. Yep. Introduce a couple of characters. I think this is the first time that we actually see Honda.
He might have been in Chapter 1, but this is the first time he's reintroduced to Yugi after being his bully.
Yeah, and his name is Tristan in the anime, American anime, so I apologize if I swap up that name. But I'll do my best.
I really like this sky here. A couple different applications of media. This is a really heavy crosshatch, top of Zipatone. Probably cutting out the Zipatone just make the swipe. I think this is a really cool skyline.
Oh, yeah.
Wanted to highlight it.
Yeah, if there's one thing that Kazuki Takahashi does well, it's textures in his manga.
Yeah. Good cartoon effect over here with the shaking of Yugi.
Oh, yeah. Here's some different textures. There's like speed lines in the background of that. This dude's hair's got some interesting cross-hatching going on and stuff.
Yeah.
Yugi's got some Zipatone in his hair. And just this panel, there's like 4 or 5 different, comic book ways of doing a panel. It was a really good panel.
Yeah. Takahashi clearly really cares about the manga he's putting together.
Yeah. I mean, and he knows when to drop a background. He knows when to insert a background, which I think is a good utility for a comic book artist to have. Let you focus on your characters in one panel, and then let you set up a setting in the next panel without having to focus on it too much. Have we been introduced to Yugi's grandpa before this?
Yeah, he was in Chapter 1.
I thought he was. I don't think we actually got a chance to read Chapter 1, right? Because I think it must have been an issue.
That's right, 1. Yeah.
But this is Yugi's grandpa, so on the show here, this is the first we're seeing of him. And he's the Kame game store owner, so he's the turtle game store owner. I have to imagine that Kame thing is probably a reference to Dragon Ball on some level.
Or turtles or sage-like figures.
Yeah, and he is
just drawing off common reference, I imagine.
A hermit kind of dude, for sure. Yeah. So we finally... no, actually, it's the next chapter, sorry. Honda is looking for something to impress this girl, so he's going to buy this puzzle from Yugi's grandfather and write a little love note on it, but he's dumb and silly, so he can't write a love note, so he pays Yugi to write it for him. Sorry, he doesn't pay Yugi anything.
He just makes him.
He makes Yugi do it for him. Yugi
Shakes
does.
Him up again.
Yeah, that's funny.
And Yugi writes like the worst love note, most generic. He's trying really hard. Yugi's too earnest for something like this.
It's fine. It works. Honda's appreciative of it. Clearly, is very nervous. They leave it in the desk of the student that Honda's has a crush on. And there's this evil teacher lady, basically, that wears a lot of makeup and is trying to make herself look really good for who knows, the students, I guess, or herself. I don't know. Anyway, she's not very nice, and she goes into school to try to ruin the lives of her students and stuff.
I really dug this page as an establishment for our villain. Shows off all the different facets of her character.
Yeah.
This, like, vileness.
Yeah.
And then going into this, like, I don't think Kakahashi has drawn eyelashes or like this detailed of a panel before, really trying to show beauty and vanity with this character.
Yeah.
So it's a really strong page.
Yeah. You actually took more from this page than I did, so I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a good point. None of our main characters is on this page at all.
Yeah.
This is all just an addition for the villain. and then we go on to follow the villain until we get back to the classroom. And then she says, empty the contents of your desk, dump them onto, or, dump your bag onto your desk. It's inspection time. So she's going to go around and inspect everybody's desk, and obviously Honda's crush is going to find this thing in her desk. Yeah. And so the teacher, I don't really need to be...
I really enjoyed the use of text on this page. We have these really contrasting dialogue boxes to sort of build the joke, where Yugi is dreading over what Honda's done. He's completely clueless. Totally blank.
Yeah, I don't... I guess he just doesn't have a response to what's going on. Yeah. Moving right along here. This almost blows up in Honda's face, but then Yugi ends up doing something real honorable, and he stands up and says that he made the puzzle, and he's going to take the blame, and then Jinochi stands up and says, no, I made the puzzle, I'll take the blame, and then Honda eventually joins him in, and she's like, well, I can only expel one of you, ho, 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 and I guess Yugi's inner self loses his control over here, and he becomes what is known in the anime as Yama Yugi, this flash of pyramid light, and challenges the teacher to a game in the middle of class.
Yeah.
And the teacher, it's not even really a challenge, is it, here?
No, he just...
He like associates her soul to the puzzle somehow.
So once she finishes the puzzle, it reveals her true self or whatever.
And so she does finish the puzzle, and instead of unveiling the message, she unveils all of the makeup, starts coming away from her face. And they're like, oh, wow, look, no way, because she's gross without the makeup or something. So she runs away, and she has to put makeup on, and I guess they're saved. And it says, after that, Honda screwed up his courage-ass ribbon out directly, but she refused him after all. So this chapter was clearly just some character building for Honda, for Yugi.
And they end up closer as a result of this encounter.
Right, which is a huge purpose to this. An ongoing theme in Yu-Gi-Oh! is friendship, team building, and cheering on the people around you and stuff. So moving right along, some really good paneling and stuff. They break panels.
There's
really
a
cool.
panel where the puzzle effect is overlaid onto the teacher is really good.
It's really creative use of the context in your comic. And there's this, I could have sworn it was like last page, but I guess we've been moving right along here so fast.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of page breaks that I appreciate that I was going to point out, but I since lost the one that I wanted to. There was this one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I really like this panel break too.
Yeah, it's not a panel at all. It's just like thrown into the corner, but it works really well.
Yeah, and then I think I mentioned the zip just because of how crazy it blends down. This must be some application of white media over a zip.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, moving right along here to the next chapter of Yu-Gi-Oh. This is not worth our time.
No.
So the editors, each of the American editors gets like a page in here. I think there's 3 of them where they talk about like some of the stuff that they saw in Japan and what they liked and what they didn't like. And this dude just basically, from what I remember, complains for this whole page.
He went to the arcade.
Yeah, he literally makes fun of some of the Japanese cultural games that they're playing. We're not going to spend any time on this.
I'm not going to either, but I did think this was if we're going to throw one of these in the chapter, this is kind of fitting towards Yu-Gi-Oh! Talking about games.
Just look, this dude says, grab a cold melon cream soda and park your fat American butt in front of the arcade machine. Yeah. Thanks, Drew. Screw you. Keep moving on. This one is cool because this chapter makes me realize how well Kazuki Takahashi can draw other stuff. You don't see a lot of manga has a lot of design in it. A lot of uniform design, clothing design, and stuff like that. Yeah, but this is almost like
product design.
But I don't know that they've ever sat there and concentrated on something of this nature to the point of this, spending a whole panel on a shoe. Yeah. And they're just trying to show that Jinochi is a sneakerhead, and he wants to buy these shoes from this guy who owns this place called Scorpion, Shoes or whatever. But what this made me realize, Chris, is that Kazuki Takahashi has been drawing cool clothing for issues now. Like, it's not just that panel. Like, I went back here somewhere, and I don't remember where it was, but,
Yeah.
There's, like, his work on feet are pretty solid, which is not a strong point in a lot of comic artists' resume.
Yeah.
Look at the crazy, on both these pages, just look at the crazy use of backgrounds and the zipatone and stuff. This manga artist clearly has seen manga in his life and understands the tools that are at his disposal.
This is a cool panel. Just breaking up how we see this guy.
And again, how good is I said this in a prior Jump episode, how good is Takahashi at drawing villains?
Yeah.
He really knows how to make some dude look evil. This is an interesting panel over here, huh? I guess there's a reference to the Electric Network, which is a Japanese famous performing artists that do crazy stunts and stuff.
Yeah.
And so this like handless thing must be a reference to that no American is going to understand whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is really weird.
Something lost in translation.
I think
this is a funny panel, though.
It's funny, but it's such a strange effect to use to ball up the hands out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Still, really like these shoe designs, so I'm just going to on-go in this entire chapter. So, Jinochi wants these shoes. He's got to pay for the shoes. He pays for the shoes. He gets the shoes. Shortly after he gets the shoes, he gets jumped by a gang using a tire, which I think is pretty creative. I've seen this before, but it's been a long time. Like somebody using a tire to tie somebody up, I mean. And so that happens. They steal his shoes.
I really like this design for these characters. They're really realistic, weirdly, for the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something about this face doesn't read like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Face, but I like it.
Yeah.
Because we really do have a lot of contrasting characters, so it's just another type of character we can throw in.
And again, they all look like they're up to no good.
Yeah. Shady characters.
Which again, it's compliments to this dude's ability to draw the bad guys.
Yeah.
So they steal the shoes. Those shoes are going to go back and get resold to the guy who owns the Scorpion game shop. And Honda and Jinochi are looking for revenge on these gangsters, so they find him in the arcade.
Yugi comes along, and they all compliment his bravery, showing how he's grown as a character.
Yeah.
Through the power of friendship, I guess.
They beat up these guys. They don't really get anything out of it, but Yugi does get some information that says that they stole it for 3,000 yen to give it back to the shop owner. And so Yugi has information, and he goes and acts upon it faster than Honda and Jinochi can. And he shows up, and they play a little game, just like in Saw or something, where there's this scorpion that this dude owns. And this is very confusing because, like, the scorpion's hanging from his necklace here, as if it was petrified, it's not a real scorpion. But then he goes and they play this game, and he takes the scorpion and he puts it in there. Like, the scorpion can still, like, walk and sting and stuff.
Yeah.
And
then Yugi puts some coins in there and gets him to play by telling him he'll give him however many 1,000 yen for each coin he gets, which I don't know what this guy is thinking, because if Yugi gets stung by the scorpion and this guy wins, he's not getting any money. So I don't even know why he plays, but breaking, whatever. We have to get this story along.
Well, the coins are in the shoe.
Yeah. With the scorpion.
If Yugi dies, coins are this guy's. Or, well, if he gets stung, rather, the coins are the villain's.
Right, but he mentions that the coins are worthless. He gets money from the coins or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Doesn't matter.
There are coins. There's an incentive.
Scorpions.
There's a scorpion. Right, yeah, and then here it says, if I win, you owe me 100,000, right, for each of the coins. So maybe the scorpion isn't deathly. Maybe it'll just make you crazy sick or something.
Which it does to this guy.
Hospital trip. Note that Yugi did not kill the teacher in the last chapter.
Well, yeah.
It is pretty consistent that he does kill the villains after he's just done messing with them, up to and including bullies in high school.
Mm-hmm. Or at least makes them brain dead.
So they play a little game, and this dude decides to stab the shoe, which will theoretically then kill the scorpion, and then he can grab all of the chains, or all of the coins. But and look how dark and like out of place this
Yeah.
panel is amongst everything else over here.
Really foreboding.
Yeah, which is the whole purpose.
Yeah.
But this dummy does not actually stab the scorpion. The scorpion is fine. Here's his knife. He reaches down, and after he grabs all the coins, he can't get his hand out of the shoe. This is really like simple, dumb, logical, game-oriented type stuff. He gets stung by the scorpion. We don't know what happens to him.
I love this effect he's doing over here. This is some cool stuff.
I'm going to assume this guy dies because I like just assuming that Yugi's out here killing people. Game over.
Yeah.
Players in Pyramids. This was definitely cooler than the page that came a little bit before it. And the reason why it's so cool is because it talks about a couple games that have been played since, like, before 2,686 years before Christ.
Jeez.
Which is quite a long time ago. And we're still playing some of these games today, which is really interesting. I don't know if I made a point to... Oh, yeah, I did. I made a whole point on here. So, there was this Egyptian dude named, pharaoh. His name was Tutankhamun, which I may be butchering the name of. He died really early in life. I think he died at the age of 19. But he was a really big fan of games, which makes sense. You know, kids growing up, kids like games.
And, part of the reason King Tut is important is because he's one of the few pharaohs whose tombs weren't robbed by grave robbers before archaeologists found it, so they actually could have. Like, they found his stuff with him, so like most pharaohs who were looted long before we found their bodies.
So they, and amongst his belongings were all of these game pieces and stuff like that. And so Egyptian archaeologists and researchers went and put together these games to the best of their abilities, probably based on some of the hieroglyphics that were around. Might have even taught the guys how to play those games. There's a silly joke in here that says always save instruction manuals because, like, obviously there weren't any, I don't know, but there weren't any direct English translation instruction manuals for these games that they found.
Right.
But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And before we skip past this page, we introduce Magic and Wizards, and this is the card game that becomes known to Americans as Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the basis, at least, for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game in this manga. At least I think. Like, yeah.
Last note I was going to make about this is that the games that they were talking about that they found in Tut's tomb were not supposed to only be played by royalty, which I thought was interesting. It's for royalty and peasants. They might have been made with different stuff, but they were the same games played amongst royalty and peasants. Whenever you hear about things like chess is always a game that
played by the nobles.
Yeah, that once it was founded, it was played by nobles, and there's a lot of games that example that weren't given to peasants. Whereas in Egypt, everybody played games. It's just the name of just how it worked down there.
Yeah.
But Chris is totally right. This is perhaps one of the most important pages in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right here is Magic and Wizards being played between Yugi and Jinochi and his grandpa.
Yeah.
And Taya says it all. Wow, ellipse. The reason why it's called Magic and Wizards is because Akira Toriyama is a fan of games, up to and including American games. So he actually based this on Magic the Gathering. Konami, who owns the game, or I think maybe even Upper Deck at a point in time, and maybe even Shonen Jump in portion, definitely had to change that name. And for a while in Yu-Gi-Oh! There were Magic cards, trap cards, monster cards.
Yeah.
Only after like a year or so of printing, they went to spell cards, trap cards, monster cards.
Right.
Trying to avoid that Magic connection. And
look how fully fleshed out this card game is already. I know we're basing it off the Magic the Gathering card game, which I was going to ask about, because this looks like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game I recognize. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not a huge fan of any of this stuff. But from an outsider, this looks done. This looks like a card game that you can play right off the bat. And this is the first time we're bringing it up in this manga. And look how many cards there are. And they all have distinct card arts. I think this is really impressive.
Yeah, this is... The only reason that this ever continued is because the fans responded really well to this being inside of this manga. The fans really dictated what Yu-Gi-Oh! was to become. So... The fans must have, just like you did, just like I did, really enjoyed seeing a page like this where there are just a bunch of really cool, dark, evil, demonic-looking designs set next to some relatively normal-looking anime and manga characters. They briefly explain how to play the game. I'm going to skip over it because the game is super different in reality.
And, show off the card, like, my dad knows what this card is.
Blue Eyes, White Dragon!
Yeah. So this is like the Kamehameha wave for this manga. I feel like everyone associates this card with Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's this card and the Dark Magician. Those are the biggest. Those are the two big boys. And it's because of these two characters, Mr. Kaiba and Mr. Yugi.
Yeah.
And in that regard, this is the first time that we meet Kaiba. He walks into Yugi's grandpa's shop.
I always think it's neat when people use a zip like this, just because it really flattens out a character a lot doing this, just because it's really unnatural to use a zip like this to build form. But I always think it's a cool effect. Just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, I think, it also makes you think of a color, because this thing is in black and white.
Yeah, and sells some lighting, but still.
So, if you look at the colors on the page and stuff, you can see that, like, Yugi's jacket is dark, Joey's jacket is dark, Kaiba's jacket is dark. Kaiba's got some buttons here that are light colored. So you can probably assume that they're like a white or a yellow. Maybe this is a black or a blue. Joey's wearing like a black or a blue or a green. Yugi's wearing a black or a blue or a green. The darkness helps you realize what the colors could be once, especially with like the intro pages that have some of the colors on it. You can try and apply those colors once you see the darkness that comes with this.
I'm not talking specifically about color. I'm just talking about this fade-in effect. Because there's no contour lines to go along it, it just flattens out his body's form.
Yeah.
So I always think it's cool when artists use this effect.
Yeah, but
it's a compositional element that I think is unique.
Right, and in addition, if they didn't shadow it, you wouldn't know that this has any color to it. Because these lights, these like open whites, like this is, where is it? Joey's wearing a white t-shirt. This t-shirt that Joey's wearing, it doesn't have color to it.
Yeah.
It's white for a reason. Boom! There's this Blue Eyes White Dragon down here in this corner that catches Kaiba's eye. Kaiba comes in here basically what seems like to put down whoever's in this shop. He starts really talking down to Jinochi and pisses him off quite quickly. But this catches his eye.
Again, another cool effect. Only drawing the head using some like implication of where his form would be here. I again, just like these zips.
Yeah. Blue Eyes White Dragon, it can't be! This dude really loses his crap right here. Really loses his crap. I'd be invincible. So he throws down this trunk, and this is famous in the anime, where Kaiba opens his trunk, and there's a huge amount of cards that he's willing to trade Yugi's grandpa for the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Wowza! I'm sorry, but no. Grandpa's not having it. He doesn't want to trade the card for any reason. We find out more later on why this card is so special to Grandpa, but we kind of glance over it in this chapter.
No, he mentions it in...
Well, that's what I mean by he glances
right over here. He talks about...
Here is a panel.
Yeah. Sure.
We get a lot more than a panel in the future that really educates the reader as to what it means to him.
Yeah. It's a symbol of friends, he says here, because a dear friend of him gave it to him when he was in America, so he doesn't want to part with it.
And that continues that friendship thing going forward.
Yeah.
So Kaiba's like, okay, whatever, and leaves.
Again,
game
already has
giving
rules.
up on it.
You can take the cards out of this manga from this chapter and play this game.
You could.
I think that's really cool.
You could, and these rules are relatively close to what the rules are in real life, but they are different.
Yeah.
Kaiba wants this card. He thinks he's slick. He tries to trick Yugi with a fake card. It does not work because Yugi has like an inner... He's just paying attention, honestly, in this particular panel. Yugi sees exactly what Kaiba's doing.
Yeah, and Kaiba's being real shady about seeing Yugi's card, too.
Well, thank you, Yugi. Just holding it makes me love the game even more. I wouldn't say he's being shady at all. I'd say that he's trying to put on a really good impression and act. Maybe that's what you mean by being shady, is like 3 pages ago we saw him acting like a jerk.
Yugi knows what Kaiba's like at this point.
And then all of a sudden he's acting...
He has a real face turn.
He's acting really nice. But Yugi approaches him and is like, you're a liar, you stole my card, stop being a jerk, don't lie. This is important to my grandpa, give me back my card. And then Kaiba smacks him with his trunk. Like, pretty hard. And we get Yami-Yugi, whoosh, that whole sound effect that isn't here or whatever. Yu-Gi-Oh! And he gets challenged to a duel. The first duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is going to set the bar for a while because how dope is that?
Yeah, that's some great monster design.
That is great.
Like, amazing.
Like, I keep on wanting to say this reminds me of Hellboy, but I don't know why, because Hellboy doesn't look this good.
No.
Hellboy doesn't even look... This looks more like Hellboy, actually, like a statue that Mike Mignola would draw in the background or something. And Kazuki Takahashi is a fan of Hellboy and Mike Mignola stuff, so... You know, once you read Yu-Gi-Oh! And you get to these demons and stuff, it's not too much of a surprise.
You know, this panel is great, but on this next page, look at this one. Oh my goodness. All the monster designs facing off here, and like, Yu-Gi-Oh's been pretty simple designs. Look how good that arm is. This shows a clear understanding of all the muscles in the arm. He's really showing up the image guys almost who would draw like this. Completely understands every form here. Everything looks good. This dragon's amazing. And doing a bunch of different effects. This isn't even a zip, I think. I think this is all stippled with like a pen, just dot by dot by dot.
Yeah.
Crazy effects.
Yeah, it's two really strong pages. Kaiba loses quite quickly in this game. Those are the rules in the Shadow Game version of Magic and Wizards. Does this even continue?
No.
Just ends there. What an end, right? We're gonna obviously be continuing this this Duel Monsters gimmick into the next issue.
And first time we've had a two-part story in this manga. Clearly Takahashi's having a lot of fun with this card game.
Yeah, well, it's given him an excuse to draw some stuff outside of just plain old like anime
slice of life.
manga villains and stuff. Here are some of the basic cards that actually did translate from the manga straight into the actual card game. Blue Eyes White Dragon, Summon Skull, Ryu Kenshin, Blackland Fire Dragon, Mystic Lamp. And the only thing that I have to comment about this page is Blue Eyes White Dragon is still a popular and used card in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! The rest of it fell to power creep over time in a card game.
Right.
I don't know if I have anything on this culinary conundrum thing.
No. I'm going to be honest, I think this might be the only page I didn't read because I just lumped in with this, which I have no idea about.
I read this, and now that I'm thinking about it, there was some. So what this page is they listed a bunch of things that they have eaten in Japan. Half of these are real, half of these are fake. They want you to read these and determine which ones are real, which ones are fake. This is like just like a cook your own food kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is food is hanging off a guy who walks around. You pick the food off of him. This is you cook the food kind of thing, but if you cook it wrong, you could die. This is a cannon that launches food at a grill, and then the grill cooks it and it lands there. And then this is you go into a restaurant, you pick your fish, they'll cook the fish for you and bring it out.
Is the joke that all of this is real? Because I can imagine all these being a real thing.
I don't think there's a cannon that shoots meat at a Target grill.
You don't know.
I don't know. I didn't even bother to look up the answers to this because I think some of these are more believable than others. Is all I'm
This one's
saying.
probably true. They're probably just talking about sea urchin or something, because that is how that works.
Yeah, there's really specific directions here. So, and I think shabu shabu is a real thing as well, but maybe it's not as deathly as it says it is, or at least I hope not. I ain't messing around with that kind of stuff. Then we move on to Shaman King, which, like, holy cow, look at these, like, white, like, nice, bright lines compared to this crazy dark page that I flipped to randomly, because you can flip to any page in this manga and go, wow, what a difference.
Very active. Shaman King likes to take... It's very tranquil, I would say.
Yeah, which plays along with the spirits and the soul and being at peace.
Our main character's attitude, I guess.
Yeah, who seems to just go with the flow of things.
Yo.
So he's there. Oh man, what a cool design for a main character. I'll keep on saying this. I think that this design is sweet and simplistic too. Makes it easier to draw. We're just being introduced to what Yo's life is like in this issue, more or less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some cool panels around here.
I
This one's good.
almost feel bad for the dude who puts this together for coming after Kazuki Takahashi, because that was a really strong chapter of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And Hiroyuki Takei is like trying his best. You know, obviously these mangakas don't know when their comic is or where their comic's going to be placed in a Shonen Jump.
And to his credit, I think I like this chapter a lot. I wouldn't say I like it more than the Yu-Gi-Oh! Chapter as we go on. I think there's a really strong story here.
Yeah.
This is sort of, we're picking up from where we left off last time. Our Shaman King, he's trying to get Akamaru to become like his regular partner, I guess. Amidamaru.
Yeah.
So, this is a really cool choice on the translation team. I don't think the kanji is like this. I'm pretty sure they're adapting, like, an honorific of speech. You know how there's, like, different honorifics in Japanese. This is a really cool way to showcase difference in text. And good on the translation team for even doing this, you know. Really sells the difference between these types of characters. And this is a really cool effect.
Are you talking about the lettering?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Lettering. Yeah. That says honey.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting how they fit like American words into Japanese manga.
Yeah.
See you. It's all the time. It's constant. Naruto does the same thing. You
And,
does the same thing. The fun barring music.
Curious how many of these are...
Exit.
Yeah. How many of these are... like, this is definitely the translation team, but some of those might just be, like, the honey one. Could just be,
the artist.
Yeah. Throwing that in.
I don't think this one's the translation team. That looks like it was drawn into the art with the same line as everything else. This one, though, could definitely be the translation team. But you say that, why wouldn't they have changed that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, who knows?
Maybe just trying not to affect the art that much. This is, like, a very plain sign. It's a very well-drawn one.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a really cool panel, too. Really nice shadows. Talking about that, Hellboy influence. This is a very Hellboy-esque
that
panel.
one's pretty strong in regards to that kind of stuff. Look how big this dude is.
Yeah.
Midamaru is pretty big too, honestly.
Yeah, and the plot of this chapter is about these two brothers. Not brothers, they're like brothers in arms. This guy is a swords maker. The other guy is a blacksmith. The other guy is a samurai.
Yeah.
They pledge, as the chapter goes on.
They're both orphans too, in
Yes.
addition to that.
And there's a really good panel a couple pages later.
We'll get there.
Okay. You got something on this page?
I don't know that I do. I just wanted to compliment this close-up. It's solid. We just met this character, and it's important to show the character's like design and stuff like that. This one, too. I like the weird edges to the face. I think I've seen Oda do this kind of thing with faces where like it turns the faces into shapes more than they even are faces.
Yeah.
Pointy, like, I know I've seen
This
Oda
looks like a Bruce
like
Timm face.
pointy face. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can see that. Pretty cool. All right, so we're in the depth of this chapter now. Like Chris was saying, this is like a brother figure to Amidamaru that he has done wrong. This dude has been guarding this weapon that we saw on the last page since 600 years ago when Amidamaru was done wrong by this guy. We find out through the course of this chapter what had actually happened.
Yeah, they pledged fidelity to this lord. He wants... his swords are so good, he wants the exclusive market on them. So he's going to kill this guy, so there's only one in existence that Amidamaru can use to be his samurai. This is the panel I really wanted to point out. We're doing this like conversation between these two characters. They're talking about their parentage, and then we get this great panel where they talk about being orphans, and we get to see their orphanage. It breaks out of these two panels. It's bigger,
Yeah,
it's really good.
And a huge purpose is to show where they were coming from and where they've gone over the course of time.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you see these little like shield things over here.
Yeah.
And then the shield thing is literally destroyed and on the ground from this other dude who must have died in a battle or something.
Yeah, it really helps us empathize with these characters.
Yeah, which is important for this chapter when it's concentrating on these two for the most part. Day, night kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Simple but effective in showing you how time passes in the story.
Cool establishing shot.
It's a
Really
cool
simple
one.
one, too.
little Hellboy-looking panel, too, over here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like a half-colored, half-shadowed statue. Yeah! So they go through this whole thing, and they show that Amidamaru got...
He got ambushed after trying to help his brother escape, and he was ambushed beforehand. They killed him. His brother in arms.
And the blacksmith makes it seem like it was all his fault and stuff, where it seems like it wasn't his fault at all.
Yeah.
That maybe the blacksmith just wasn't there to back up Amidamaru. And so Amidamaru gets killed, and he feels so bad. He feels like he killed him and stuff. And
he gains this reputation as a fiend because of how he died. And from the beginning of this chapter, Yo has had a good feeling about him. So we just get confirmation what Yo has already known. Amidamaru's a good guy.
Yeah. Yo seems like the classic kind of shonen character where he, like, guffaws at danger.
And he has, like, a third sense for how people are, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, Luffy has this in One Piece a lot, where, like, even if a character appears to be, like, a villain, he can, like, see through that or something.
Yeah.
It's pretty typical shonen protagonist.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about Naruto and Goku.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that these characters are copy and pastes at all, but when you're writing a certain type of manga, and you know you're appealing to a certain type of audience, it helps to take from what has worked in the past.
And to this manga's credit, Yo is our main character, but Manta's usually our point of view character, I feel like.
Which is unfortunate. I feel like Manta's the reason why this manga and anime is ever unsuccessful.
Maybe, yeah.
This character is hecka annoying. Is like the worst audience member you could possibly have because he's unrelatable altogether.
Yeah. And so, like, we talked about how kind of fun it was last chapter, but continuing with this character, I was going to see if there was a further back panel. He has a really strange design, even amongst everything. You know, it's fun cartooning, but
he's got to be like 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he eats. Where does the food go? Definitely different than the rest of the characters that they have in the manga.
Yeah.
You know what? I even have a note here that says Manta drives book down. Mm-hmm. So even in reading this chapter, I must have been annoyed by Manta all over again. That's interesting, huh?
He squeezes him.
So this dude agrees to go with Yo. Yo is going to help him confront Amidamaru. So Yo has this thing where he can turn spirits into like flame modes and consume those flames so that the spirit can then possess his body.
And then they make a new sword for Amidamaru, or they finish the sword for Amidamaru. So
here's my question though.
Okay.
Right? So they were in a museum talking to this old dead guy.
Did they just steal it?
There's this old... and, like, I don't even know or understand how that would be possible. Because when they show you this sword, it's in a glass case.
Yeah.
And Yo has some level of spiritual ability here. He's not going to be able to spirit a sword through a glass case.
No, they really don't explain that either.
This thing just shows up.
Yeah.
And I don't,
it's definitely not a new sword. I think they say it's they restore the sword he made for Amidamaru however many thousand years ago.
And I wanted to make a note on this panel too that I missed. What is this? What is even happening here?
Yeah. It's
okay. Sure. Okay, this isn't the way, like, there are probably better ways to grip a sword there. Like, that's not even... his hand's not even... It's like his hand was there, and then they decided to draw the sword in there. And I honestly think his fingers should go a little bit past the sword a bit, even. They butchered... This is not... This is a bad panel. It's a cool pose, but it gets ruined by this really bad hand. Because that's just not how this functions. Like, why wouldn't you just copy and paste what happened in the other hand? It's so weird. Anyway, they have this nice moment between the two of them. Amidamaru and the blacksmith. They come together again, and they feel sorry for each other, and the blacksmith can now pass on to the afterlife, but Amidamaru is still stuck here because he's still got things to do,
and he's decided to stick with Yo, be his spirit, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's really because he sees the niceness and the true intention that Yo has to I guess help the world and help other souls pass over to the afterlife.
It's a good panel of Mansa just to show how weird and small he is.
Yeah, and they're focusing on characters too because they dropped this beautiful background that they're using. There's this note here. It says, the fact that Amidamaru's sword got all shiny overnight was covered in a small article in the corner of the local paper, the Harasume Miracle. So they do mention that this sword got shined overnight, but it returned to the glass, and they don't bother to mention how they got it out of the glass or how they returned it to the glass.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff bothers me, just like the panel that we just showcased bothers me. This is what I'd call a little lazy. And there's no reason for that, especially when you're this early in the manga.
Yeah, this is chapter 2. You're still making your first impressions.
And if your first impressions are you're going to be slacking on art and you're going to be slacking on story elements, I'm not surprised this thing got canceled.
Yeah.
Here's another page that we can basically skip over. This is the editors went to Japan and talked about what they liked. And they spend about 4 or 5 paragraphs here on monkeys.
Uh-huh.
Which are cool. But moving on. So we have this 3rd chapter of Shaman King here. It's called The Unfinished Billboard. And I actually really like this chapter.
Uh-huh.
I think it was creative. Yo almost gets hit by a billboard in the beginning of the chapter. And he mentions that he feels weird about the billboard after he leaves. Here's this really strong cover page.
Yeah.
Great form. Here's some way better hands.
Mm-hmm.
Still a little odd though, right? Like this ball thing going on right here.
Yeah, I know what he's doing, but it's still strange.
It's a choice, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't see Yo without his headphones very often.
Yeah.
So I'll point that one out. And here he is with his headphones again.
And he's using spirits to help him out in school, I guess.
And there was a strong city shot somewhere in here too that I wanted to mention.
Yeah,
this is
really
a really good way to open up and set your set. And we're gonna come back to like these billboards and stuff. This billboard that smacks him is really important here. So now we've got Amidamaru, we've got Yo, we've got Manto, we've set up our main characters. We can actually progress the plot a little bit here.
He has all these other spirits he's using to help him in school.
He's literally cheating, basically. He's trying to avoid learning anything in school and instead uses like a smart guy, a gym guy, an athletic guy to help him get through his grades. Manta loses his crap because Manta's the bookworm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all professional musicians and hairstylists. This is my ability and I'm developing it. He's trying to become the Shaman King.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about school.
No.
He's got better things to worry about here. One of the things that Manta notices is that Yo's got a bunch of like scars and stuff on him.
Yeah.
And I think they talk about it later.
Because he's calling him lazy, more or less, which he is, but, he's basically not giving him any credit for the skill he has as a shaman. And as he's watching him put away, he sees all the work that Yo puts in as a shaman, the toll it takes on him. So, establishing our conflict for the chapter, I guess.
I like this billboard ghost.
Yeah.
I think that's a fun idea. A billboard ghost that haunts a billboard. And it's an alright design, I suppose, too.
Yeah.
Here's some darks that look like it came straight out of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, man. More Hachi on this page, too. This is an overall dark page. Very strange for this manga.
Yeah. Manta got saved from this ghost by Amidamaru, who I guess was following Manta around just to protect him. Yo's got like a sixth sense about these things, so no surprise that he's got Amidamaru keeping an eye on Manta. Even calls him Lord Manta here.
Mm-hmm.
Amidamaru fights down the ghost, but doesn't look like Amidamaru has like a lot of progress in that. The ghost... he says that the ghost emotions are not normal. It is obsessed.
Yeah. And they mention in a battle between ghosts, emotional fierceness is what determines the outcome, more or less. So this guy is really set in his beliefs. Amidamaru was just trying to help Yo, so he's a lot weaker in this fight, even though he'd naturally be stronger.
So we keep on going. Yo gets in, and Yo's got the sixth sense I was talking about. He's brought some paint, and he's here to try and help this billboard ghost. This billboard ghost smacks Yo so hard his headphones flies off. That's not cool, man. Not cool. Smacks the main character's headphones off? Oh, no. Yeah. But then Yo says has this huge monologue basically, and he talks about, I found out who you were, I did some research, I feel bad for you, I know you died trying to paint this billboard, I brought back some paint so you can finish your job and hopefully you can go and rest. And shows this true form of the billboard, the billboard artist. And Chris, how obnoxious looking is this dude?
Yeah, I mean, how many heads tall is he?
I can't
How
even
small
tell.
that is.
Like, they don't really give you a comparison of size at all here, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's like 9.
But he looks
10
massive.
heads tall.
He looks like he's 10 feet tall or something like that. Ridiculous. It's fun. It's cartoony, but look at these hands. How did that? Jeez. If a truck ran this dude over and killed it, that truck was probably damaged to the point of no return. This man looks like he could stop a truck.
Yeah. There's probably a train. It would have to be. It looks like.
So Yo and Manta go and finish the billboard, so this man can pass over into the afterlife. Yo, being the good dude that he is, continuing that. Pretty cool. This says gun beer. This was not. There's no way this was American lettered in. This must have been part of the art to begin with.
No, I don't. It's something I don't quite understand about manga, but I don't know. They really like putting English in.
Yeah,
I guess they have to take it in school or something. That's something I got from Yu Hakusho because Keiko is constantly studying English.
Yeah, they
very strange.
They definitely take English in school, and I guess it grabs onto some people more than others, just like languages in American schools do.
Yeah,
but yeah, you'll see this all the time. There are American words in manga constantly.
Yeah.
You don't even need to put sake here. Honestly, this could have been the kanji for it.
We get it.
Moving on to One Piece, cruising right along here.
No cover page this chapter, but few panels.
Yeah, and it really, really picks right up where it left off. If the last panel of the last chapter could have been right here, and you wouldn't have even skipped a beat. The cover page would have had you skip a beat more than the actual manga does.
Yeah, that's one thing One Piece is really good for. In volume releases, really good read. There's not it's very fluid between chapters, as opposed to something like early Yu Hakusho or Shaman King, which is it's monthly, so it's Monster of the Week type stories. One Piece is it's a very easy read, I guess.
Definitely ongoing.
Yeah.
Definitely ongoing.
For sure. 1,000 chapters on.
Oh, man, I really like Axe Hand's branded jaw.
Yeah.
I think that is super cool. Look at all the energy in these 2 pages too.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of all these onomatopoeias shoved in here to save space and time on both the artist and the reader.
And Oda, the Alvida chapter had action, but he's really condensing it. This is our first story arc. We spent a couple chapters on this place, so he's really indulging in the action more than he has throughout this entire manga so far, and showing off his chops at drawing action. I think there's some really good pages in here. This one especially, I love this composition,
and I like the close-ups.
And look how many panels are on these last couple pages. They're not cluttered, but they're certainly
filled.
They're certainly filled. And this one, it almost looks like one panel on a first look. There is a break here, a clear one, but really big panel here to show Zoro and his, him stopping all these Marines. It's really cool, and I really. This is something that I point out more later on, but Oda, for all his noodleness to his forms, he understands musculature because that's a really good forearm muscle here that he's pointing out.
Solid close-ups, more solid close-ups, solid close-ups. Cool speed lines even on the face and stuff.
Yeah, I really like this speech from Luffy. The world's greatest swordsman, that's great, and it's fitting since when your new boss can be the Pirate King, anything else would make me look bad. Great Luffyism, I guess.
He wants to be the king.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
This is the page I really want to talk about. Look at some of these forearms here. Again, One Piece is very noodly manga and will only become more so, but this wrist here is really well defined, this back of the arm, he's, for the splash page, he's really going all out on the detail, and the perspective here is really cool too, because there's this really good diagonal between Luffy. You almost lose Zoro, which is the only bad thing. But we are focusing on this. I guess he called Gum Gum Whip is the attack name. So I really like the energy on this page.
I thought these were the weakest double-page splashes that we've seen in Shonen Jump so far.
I don't think we've seen a double-page splash in Shonen Jump.
No, we have. Remember that double-page spread from Sandland where it was that giant mech thing that Akira Toriyama had drawn?
Yeah, we're comparing.
There have been other ones. No, and here, I'm even going to say this outside of comparing it to Akira Toriyama's page. Here's where your focus should be. Here's where my focus is. You want to have the reader read this page first, go to this page. I open this up, I'm reading this page. This is where my action is. I barely even notice that Zoro is over here.
Yeah, that is the fall of this composition.
And I disagree with you. I think the fall of this composition is I don't actually even know what's happening because this is disjointed by the actual magazine.
Yeah.
And so that's going to distract me. I might not be able to build the entire composition that's happening in this panel. I think if this was shrunk down to a long panel, it would have been a lot better. It would have been for readability, at least.
Right. And early days as Oda as a mangaka, he might not know how this will print, honestly.
Sure.
And I've read One Piece. He very rarely does even a single page splash as the manga goes on. So, he's experimenting here.
And I agree.
Works and doesn't.
I agree with what you're saying about the muscles and stuff. Absolutely. And the noodliness and the cartooning mixed in between it. I think that the artwork is really solid. I just think that this really, really, really lacks some readability.
Yeah.
I think that this could have been done a little bit better. Like, even, what does this onomatopoeia say, right? Like, I have to sit here and try and read this thing to really decipher it. I think this is an S, but this might just be a W. Because I think it's trying to say swack.
Yeah, but I think this is the translation team. I don't think this would have been English in the Japanese manga.
Then it would have been, kanji.
Yeah, and again, can't you imagine that this is too kanji? It's more readable if it's as an onomatopoeia.
It might be too giant kanji. So I don't know. Moving along.
Making the best of what they can, I feel.
Yeah. I don't hate this. I just didn't think it was placed here very well.
Sure.
We got to place double-page spreads when you can, I suppose, when it comes to manga. I thought that this was a better panel by a wide margin.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Like this, if they had skipped, they could have gone here to here. Skipped both these pages, I wouldn't have felt like I missed anything.
Yeah.
Like, Gum Gum, I guess, like, whatever his attack would have been if I knew enough about One Piece. I don't. Yeah. And so, like, this could have just been the name of his attack, and then boom, that's what happens. And you see Luffy in the background just kick the hell out of everybody. And then, you go back to him, and his foot's still up even. So you get enough out of these panels to not even need the previous two double pages. And then this is really your establishing hero shot over here.
Yeah.
These are great pages. Really, the readability on these is really good. Moving right along. Love this character design. I can't stop saying that. Oh, I wanted to mention too, these guys, Luffy made these guys look like bowling pins.
Really simple shapes using for the legs too, but it sells these are like C curves, but like really sells that they're in the air. So.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a pin that got knocked into another pin and stuff like that. Pretty funny stuff. Really good cartooning. And this is we don't really need to summarize this too much because this is just a continuation of the last issue.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that all these Marines commit suicide right here.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a noise of them shooting. That's not,
Yeah. That's shows us just cruelty, I guess.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love this axe hand guy, man. This axe hand dude is what's really dragging me through this particular chapter.
Yeah, he's sweet.
I
love that you can see the handle through his arm. It's like poking through but not poking out. It's a cool little...
Yeah. This is what in wrestling we would call an enziguri kick.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that was cool that he's taking this from... He's probably not taking it from wrestling, but...
He might. I feel like I've heard Oda being a fan of that before.
It's also a Japanese thing, too. Wrestling's really big in Japan. So I wouldn't be surprised if manga people watch it to like get ideas for action in their mind.
Or at least
stuff.
have I know even before DWJ was into wrestling, he would keep those Japanese wrestling magazines at hand to use as reference for poses. And
yes, and DWJ is in reference to Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah,
should all check out. Some really good readability here. This is fast-paced action. This is what shonens are somewhat famous for. Is you know, really showing how cool the action scenes are. And, you know, Luffy mentions kind of some of his motives here. You'd know his motives if you were... Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. This is a drop kick. This is an enziguri kick.
Gotcha.
Where, like, the knee comes in instead of the foot or whatever. But yeah, we've been reading this for a while. We know why Luffy's hitting this guy. We know why this guy is here. We know why he hates Luffy and why he hates Zoro. But it's nice to be reminded that, you know, Kobe is a character here and that Luffy's fighting for Kobe's right to join the Marine or what have you.
I think this shows some Toriyama influence because Toriyama loves to do these, like, either before or afterward shots of emotion to, like, go take us in between motions. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I think that this is weak if you spend too much time on it, though.
Sure.
Because this is the same pose.
Yeah.
And so you're right about showing action in between moments, but this is almost the same panel. In fact, what would happen here, he would hit the dude, he would strike the dude would fall down, and he would fall down. Or he would land.
Yeah.
Instead of landing or falling,
he's still in the same.
Dude falls down, and Luffy's just frozen in air.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd argue that this shouldn't even be here. This panel could have pulled this out, made this way bigger, way more important, would have looked way cooler. And then this is really what happens. Instead of landing on top of him, he lands over him and starts pounding the heck out of him.
Yeah.
So I'd argue that this whole panel, distracting, kind of messes with movement and moment and readability. But it's cartoons. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
You can have a character frozen in air if you want. I ain't going to tell you can't.
Just linger in the motion.
It's fine. Like, it looks cool. And it shows you that enziguri... Like, this is enziguri kick form right here.
Yeah.
Exactly that form. So... It's like, maybe he is such a fan of wrestling that he was like, oh man, I really want to draw this enziguri kick. Oh, I want to make sure they know it's that kick.
Yeah. Puts a gun to Luffy's friend. Really...
Messed up. Phonehead man.
Yeah.
I've since forgotten the name of.
Helmeppo.
Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. Also, he comes back.
Yeah, and then, you know, Luffy's gonna gum pistol this guy now.
And at the same time, we have him, sort of, him and Zoro silently, like, they're sort of in sync already, which, you know, that's sort of their dynamic. So... I wrote silent and unwavering faith in one another.
And it's, what did they call him? The Pirate King and, like, the Master Samurai or something?
He wants to be the world's greatest swordsman, yeah.
Yeah, the world's greatest swordsman and the Pirate King. I think that that's a hell of a team. So to show that they have... I'm going to make another wrestling reference right now. Tag teams are a huge portion of wrestling.
Yeah.
If Oda is watching wrestling for action, why wouldn't he be watching wrestling for tag team action at the same time? Tag out... Tag in. Yeah. Here we got Zoro getting a part of the action. Here's a question I have for you, Chris. What happens between this panel and this panel?
I don't think anything.
No.
He cuts
He's
him.
down.
Yeah. He is
down, and he's down, and he is down, and that's it. We don't see a slash. There's no blood. There's no description. There's not a lot to read in between the panels here.
Yeah.
We
see Zoro in this pose. I know what happens here, because I've read more One Piece. He has a move called an onigiri. He basically just uses 3 swords. It's just, like, use them all as, like, one strike. He takes up this pose afterwards. You're not going to know that for a while, so I agree that, like, this is
and not just
pretty weak panel.
And not just that, but...
This would be good... later in the manga where you understand what he's doing and like implicitly can tell what's going on and like can read between the lines as you've read between One Piece, but this is the first time Zoro has done anything.
Here's this dude's nose bleeding.
Yeah.
So they can show blood.
Yeah.
No problem. They can show blood. They had a whole team of Marines commit suicide earlier in this, so they can tackle some like relatively darker stuff. Where's the slashes?
I don't know.
Where's the blood?
I think that's entirely an Oda choice, and I think it's just like, I think it's a samurai movie reference where like they just like quickly and silently cut through, but I don't think it works. I agree.
This feels like a wrestling reference again.
Okay.
You don't get a lot of blood or you in wrestling. You just kind of have to believe that the other guy is hurt.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're fine, but they have to sell it like they're hurt. To me, that's what's going on. We have the heel here, Jawman.
Axe
Hand. He should be called Jawface Axe Hand.
Yeah.
Axe Hand Morgan is the heel, obviously, is down, is selling being down. He looks like a pinned wrestler out like, in a Jesus Cross format. It looks like Zoro just got up after getting a pin on another wrestler.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me and my wrestling that I watch a lot, but I don't know. Something's missing here, and I'm not about it.
Yeah.
This is dope.
I like Oda's cover.
To the kids at home, don't paint on bears. That's not PC. That's not cool. But if you have a manga and you want to have your main character paint on a bear, that's cool.
Yeah.
Moving right along here.
I didn't even know there was a bear.
Zoro's tired. He needs food. He's been out there for like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Just falls. Here we have like a moment between this little kid that was trying to help Zoro and Luffy, and she's really appreciative, and so is the mom.
This is like our wind down chapter, just like we've beat the threat, now Luffy and Zoro have to get going. Let's just finish up these dynamics we've set up.
Yeah, we gotta show what happens to Kobe too, right?
Yeah.
Write him straight out of here.
Yeah.
These Marines come in here to chase Luffy out of town because he's a pirate and for next to no other reason.
They're very appreciative of him, but they can't allow him they can't harbor him.
Remember I was talking about how like the like weird shit like in Shaman King there was a panel, you said it kind of looked like Bruce Timm's work. This is kind of what I was talking about here.
Yeah.
This isn't as stoic and as formatted as that, but you can see these lines that he's trying to show different sides of the face, which I think is cool. So Luffy and Zoro begin to make their way out of town, and they play this little gimmick where Kobe beats up Luffy so that Kobe looks good in the eyes of the Marines, so he can still join the Marines, even though they're clearly a crooked force of Navy men.
Yeah.
He still wants to join them for some strange reason. I don't understand this character's motivations at all. To me, it would make a lot more sense if he was going to join Luffy and Zoro after seeing all the terrible things that the Marines do.
Sure, but
no.
Again, as a reader, this is all we've seen of this world. As a character, Kobe probably has more context for the world of pirates and Marines and what that's like in the Grand Line, as they mention. I 100% get where Kobe's coming from. But again, Chapter 5, I'm talking about this as someone who has read all 1,000 chapters of One Piece, knows what they're doing with this character, knows what the world looks like. I feel like the Alvida chapter is really this character's motivation. He hates that character so much that even these good pirates that come along and these bad Marines, this guy seems alright. He would rather be capturing people like that, be on the side of supposed justice than even with his friend Luffy.
I'm surprised that he doesn't just think that life at sea just isn't for him.
Yeah.
I feel like a character like that could have that same background that you just explained and come to that conclusion just as easily. So I don't really
like naive dream.
I don't really like this character Kobe anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see him getting written off regardless. It's distracting and he's not fun. He's a lot like Manta from Shaman King.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they cleared town. That's all that's going on here.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make Kobe look as good as possible.
Yeah. They all salute Luffy as he leaves. Very
he did help them out.
Yeah.
He did save them from Axe-Hand Morgan. Maybe now they can put together a more responsible military force in the Marines and the Navy, whatever they're
Yeah, I
calling
like this
themselves.
joke where once they leave, they're like, all right, no, we can't have dinner for a week now because we've helped pirates. We saluted a pirate.
Yeah, and also the leader of the pirates acknowledged that Kobe is friends with these people, even though he had to put on an act. So that act kind of seemed like it was almost pointless if the captain knew that he was putting on an act.
Yeah.
And again, this reminds me of wrestling, because what is wrestling but
An act.
them faking this hate for each other so that they can show their audience that this person's the heel and this one's the face. Now that I'm thinking about this, I'm convinced that Oda's watching wrestling, because this just seems like this could have been a wrestling storyline.
Sure.
This totally could. They could have superimposed this into WWE or AEW and not had a problem. Yeah. You would have had to show some boats, but you could do that.
Yeah.
They're going to the Grand Line, which is important to mention, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with the One Piece, but I remember hearing the Grand Line.
They're trying to go to the Grand Line, and this caption box really sets it up. They're missing something. They don't have a navigator. Neither of these characters know where the hell they're going.
Yeah. They've. My last note is they've made one serious mistake, and that is that it's a couple of idiots, muscleheads, basically, that don't know math or science.
Yeah, this character, Zoro, will become notoriously bad at even the most basic directions. We're talking going up the stairs and going to the right. He will go left.
That's sad.
It's his quirk. Oda likes doing that with these characters. And it plays really good into the action later, because Zoro will be supposed to be going one place, and will end up in the wrong place at the right time, so he can fight someone else. It's great. I love that, but again, talking about this, they have no idea what they're doing. Luffy was in a barrel before this. He, by sheer circumstance, didn't die.
No.
This kid wants to be king of the pirates. He doesn't even know how to sail.
Yeah, these characters are force sensitive, so the force is guiding them.
Fate is guiding them.
That's all I've got to say about that.
I like these flags.
Yeah, it's a fun little portion.
Yeah.
I'm sure this makes it into the volumes of One Piece.
Yeah, that's what really this is from. I think all of this is actually just taken from the volumes of One Piece, because there's a couple. I'm lying though, because they do call him Zoro, and again, I've mentioned this before. There's they retranslate Zoro for whatever reason to Zolo. It's vaguely more accurate to how Japanese is actually pronounced, but it's still dumb. It's not his name. And talking about great transitions, I love this. Transition from One Piece to Dragon Ball. We talk a little bit about Toriyama's pirate manga. This little,
Yeah, it's called Kajika. It's about this kid being taught lessons. He gets turned into a fox boy for being a bad kid, and he has to save 1,000 souls, and he's tasked to save this dragon egg as part of his thing. And that's kind of the story here, is him trying to save this dragon egg and bring it to the right place and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a fun adventure manga, a lot of Dragon Ball similarities and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the ideas that ended up in here are ideas that didn't fit into Dragon Ball quite well. Or maybe even ideas that Toriyama had after he'd finished the first portion of Dragon Ball.
This looks like late Toriyama to me, though, so this has to be after Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it's probably stuff that he could have, that would have fit for Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball's over now, so let me do another manga in this style.
Yeah, this is definitely Sandlin era, maybe even after. And yeah, Dragon Ball Z in full color, which is really fun. These, in the beginning or near the beginning of Shonen Jump during the era Dragon Ball was being published, they would do a spot for popular manga where they would do a couple color pages and this gray, this toned color approach. And, this sort of paper too, it's glossier, more luminescent. And so this particular chapter of Dragon Ball is just from that. In some of the volume releases, this is just Zipatones, and it never looks good, so I'm really happy they actually printed this in the color. There's a lot of really good chapters. The first Goku and Vegeta fight is in color, but never has been in color in any of the volume releases. And it looks bad. I don't like... Because Toriyama doesn't do the zips when they change the color. They just put this through a copier, put it on black and white, and that's how it ends up. And it's really muddy. But Toriyama is quite sparse with colors, and I like his coloring. And I especially like these this skyline, how it warps as it would if you were this far up. He's definitely referencing like aerial pictures to some extent here. You know, this is just a really cool detail as they're flying over.
Yeah. The Earth is round.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. This may be the only color pages of Dragon Ball Z we see in Shonen Jump, at least for a while.
That's a bummer.
They don't do this often. It costs them money.
Yeah. We get to see a couple of the redesigns. Notably, Yamcha has a really major redesign, which I think is strange, just because this is a character, like, doesn't get a lot of play. This is a really fun detail. They changed the kanji on the front of his gi to the Kaio kanji to reference his training with King Kai. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah.
We get to see this Trunks design.
Yeah.
We won't see this till later on in the manga.
It's nice to have these references of color so that when you're reading the manga, you know what they look like.
Yeah. This is good for the anime team, too. I don't know if you remember Red Vegeta, but that's why we get, like, Red Vegeta and stuff. It's because they don't have anything to reference color-wise until later on.
Okay.
So...
Red hair Vegeta, I do recall.
Yeah.
And then here the color changes altogether.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Note I made. Something a little strange about this Krillin deal.
I suppose.
He's got white eyes. He never has this in the anime after his first 2 appearances. They drop it here, but even in this color page, color his eyes white. It's flesh tone in the anime throughout the whole run. This is a Toriyama thing. That's not a Toriyama decision to make his eyes flesh tone. He always drew him with like white eyes like everyone else.
I'm going to disagree with you, man. I remember seeing Krillin having both and it changing.
Yeah. Once we get to Z, it's pretty consistent, I think.
Constantly changing from whatever iteration they're doing. Not something I picked up on too much, though, now that you have mentioned it.
No.
Yeah, man. Somewhere in here they talk about, I don't know if it's this early, it probably isn't, it's probably not for a few pages. They talk about how if Piccolo dies, the Dragon Balls are going to go.
Yeah, I think it's here.
So they need to make sure that Piccolo stays alive.
Just don't push yourself if things get too tough, Piccolo. Whenever that...
Remember that the Dragon Balls will disappear if you die. I like that Bulma just brings her baby.
Yeah, and just shows up. Just wants to see these androids so bad.
Yeah, she feels like she missed out on Frieza. I think she even makes it a point, but she didn't.
Yeah,
she was on...
I think that's...
She was on Namek for the entirety of that. I guess she never saw
No, she was in like a cavern until Gohan picked her up for like
saw Frieza.
40 chapters.
But she almost got her butt, blasted in along with all of Namek, so...
Yeah.
I guess she's a glutton for punishment, clearly.
Yeah, this is the second time she's come to a situation she just doesn't belong in the Cell Saga. She came to see Mecha Frieza, too. That's where they mention her wanting to see Frieza.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. But, we're giving this character an increased role throughout the Cell Saga, and I think Toriyama knows that this early on, so,
Why is he gray now?
Yeah. Again,
15 colors, 15 pages of color, kind of a lie.
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4 pages of color, and then like a couple pages of half color.
Yeah, this was just the Shonen Jump mandate. They would limit artists to this unique color, limited color palette after the first couple of pages. Probably because it was cheaper. I think this is also... I mentioned that this is on glossier paper.
Yeah.
This probably also would have been on newsprint in Japan. I imagine they're not skimping out for paper this nice.
That's a definite possibility.
Yeah. Getting to see Yajirobe again. Really cool atmospheric perspective on these cities.
This is one of my favorite interactions in here. Oh, yeah, Yajirobe! I'm glad I made it in time. Did you come to fight too, Yajirobe? Glare. Glare. I'm here to give you senzu beans. I'm going to get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
And then he gets exploded in the air. Everybody's like, no! Yajirobe! And then Piccolo loses his stuff because something is coming. And boy.
Yeah.
Talk about splash pages that look good.
Yeah.
This would have looked good without color, even. This is stunning.
I love these villain designs, too.
They're so cool, man. Like, this dude is so creepy looking.
Yeah.
Like, these little dudes in the background going, what's going on?
I can't imagine, because I know this chapter comes out, Toriyama gets a call from his old editor being like, are you serious with this? these are the villains of your new arc. And I think, like, these would have been the villains of this whole Android Cell saga if he didn't get that call. And I think this page shows it. I think their designs are really strong. I like all the designs in this saga, but I think these are some of the strongest villain designs. They're all good, but it's clear that Toriyama has to keep interpreting these villains as he keeps going.
Somewhere in here, Tien makes a complaint that these people are late, which I think is pretty silly. Like, the anticipation of them even showing up is scary to behold, and Tien's like, it's 10 past, and
they think Trunks is a liar because Goku was the only one to actually talk to him. So they're like, they're not even showing up. This was a bunch of nonsense. We trained for nothing. Yajirobe gets blown out of the sky.
No, Tien is just impatient to the point of it, ignorant.
Yeah.
Love
this panel.
We dropped the colors, but no losses here because the art is so strong that you really don't need it.
You know, Toriyama doesn't use Zipatone hatching, you know, all the stuff that we've highlighted, all these other creators. Almost never uses it. Sheer black and white, perfect.
I can hear
There's
this
so many.
panel.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And seeing Toriyama drawing a city setting, very rare. The only other times I can think about is like when Nappa blows up that city and when Goku visits Bulma and like early Dragon Ball. Seeing him not draw a rural environment, very rare, and he's so good at it. Look at this like great like grid and like, you know, it's going down on Goku. It's so good.
I don't know that it's as rare as you think it is. But that's also because I haven't read Dragon Ball in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But anytime he draws tech or buildings or anything like that, he's good at it. Really good sound effects.
Yeah.
Everything this dude does is perfect. Yajirobe lives.
Yep.
He got blown out of the sky, but
I think
his
face is funny here.
That's for sure. I mean, his face is always funny. Clearly, Android 19 enjoys violence.
Yeah.
Just starts attacking random people for no good reason.
You know, we're reading this as if it's almost our first time, but really subtle villains. Like we've seen Frieza and King Cole at this point, very verbose, very
they look like they could be normal people in the Dragon Ball universe. Alright, so Android 19 is clearly violent. Clearly a violent villain. He just goes and attacks people for no apparent reason other than to be the villain that he is.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Gero goes and does the same thing on the following page. This dude tries to get him to move out of the street. He decides not to, destroys the man's engine, pulls the dude out of the car through his own car roof, chokes him to death. And we have this really cool panel over here.
Turns his neck into a pencil.
Even less than a pencil, even.
Yeah.
You're not going to see this kind of stuff in the anime. They try to keep that pretty, like, kid-friendly to some extent. So, it's pretty cool to see inside of the context of this. There we go. Moving right along.
Sweet.
We got villains being villains.
Yep.
And we got the team, our Z Fighters, for lack of a better term, attempting their best to find these villains and stop them from the havoc that they are foretold to be causing.
Yeah, and the only one to notice is Yamcha. So.
Unfortunately for Yamcha. Because poor Yamcha is not our toughest.
Yeah.
And he gets found first. In fact, they find him before he finds them.
I thought this was really funny. He looks left and right. He's fought people who can fly before. He knows these androids are strong. He doesn't think to look up at all. But whatever. It was probably quick.
Yeah, I don't know if they know even who to expect or what to expect.
Yeah, well, they saw that Trunks thinks these guys they're stronger than Trunks who beat Frieza. And all of these guys know they can't beat Frieza.
Doesn't mean that they're going to fly, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. I like this relatively simplistic approach to the backgrounds of the city and stuff.
His grid texture is really effective but simple.
Right. I think he's choosing very specific moments so that he doesn't have to over-render the background. You still get the basic idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Straight through.
Loves this effect.
Straight through the heart or organs or whatever portion of the body that is.
He missed his vital organs.
Kills Yamcha pretty hard. But we keep turning and we find out that the other Z Fighters are on their way to help him out.
Yeah, they hear him immediately. They sense his energy drop immediately.
Yeah. They come running. They find him. Nice little onomatopoeias here.
Yep.
Great open space. Show all your characters and where they're at in the scene. Yamcha gets dropped, but they give him a Senzu bean at some point in this progress of this issue. Krillin, I believe, flies. Is it? Yeah, it's Krillin. Krillin takes him, flies away.
Goku requests they go to a more barren environment. 20's like, sure, I can do that for you. Blows away the city.
Yeah, and they were worried about this from a few pages ago, that they wanted to go to a place that was uncivilized because they saw all of the buildings and stuff and were worried about the chaos that they were going to go into fighting these people.
Also, Toriyama doesn't want to draw all that.
Yeah, and I liked this panel a lot.
It's really strong.
These strong eye beams reminding me of Superman a little bit.
There actually is some zip use here. Really only uses it for backgrounds, but still rare to see.
Yeah.
And look at this panel especially. I think this one is crazy good. This black silhouette,
Yeah.
barely outlining our characters.
Yeah, but you can tell who's who and what's what.
This is kind of what I was talking about with the Oda panel. Mid-motion is something Toriyama does a lot, but this one's a lot more effective, I think.
Yeah.
Showing them dodging.
Yeah. And then, where is Goku after he dodges? Now he's on the ground.
He's further back and
trying to mitigate this destruction.
Shows where everyone is too. Piccolo's on the right of Goku, Tien's to the left.
Seriously, spends a lot of time on this explosion.
Yeah.
I like that this hat gets knocked off to do this creepy little brain reveal on Dr. Zero Android 20.
Mm-hmm. Showing him off not as an android. It's a cyborg.
Yeah, right. Well,
it's a bit of a twist because we've been told they're androids this whole time. This guy, he's got a brain. There's something artificial in here.
I think Toriyama's using that word android pretty loosely. Maybe
okay, so in the
translation,
it's not a bad translation. It's just that it's a dual translation. Artificial human is the most accurate translation of the term they use, which can apply to androids and cyborg, because there are androids and cyborgs. 16 is an actual android. The other one, 19, is an android. Some of them are cyborgs.
Right.
So he uses the term Genzo Ningen, which is more all-encompassing than android.
Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
What happened? In case you couldn't see the ultimate destruction directly in front of her.
Good Yamcha reaction too.
Oh yeah. Moving right along.
Yeah, Goku's like, let's get out of here.
So they run. The androids chase them, of course.
Yamcha's like, oh no, we gotta warn them. They steal your energy.
Which is really why Yamcha's energy was dropping, not because he was dying, right, but because he was being sucked
dry. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Moving right along, some really solid chapters of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I quite like these.
This, just like One Piece, keeps moving, picks up right on the panel that you left up on. And I can say the same thing for Sandland over here. I am going to be sad when this leaves in like 6 to 8 chapters or what have you.
Yeah.
Because
really solid.
Remember how you were just talking about how Akira never used Zipatone?
Yeah, there he is.
Like crazy in here.
Yeah.
Zipatone.
And from what we know about Toriyama, it's...
Zipatone on the onomatopoeias.
Yeah, it's very likely this manga he probably likes more than Dragon Ball. Especially when he's making this part.
I really think that he is a lot.
He's putting more effort in. And this stuff isn't provided by Shonen Jump. They have to buy this. This is a sunk cost,
Yeah.
So I get him not wanting to use it on Dragon Ball and him using it all over the place.
Zipatone.
Fun, like, almost, I don't know, film serial technology. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a Flash Gordon type stuff where this looks like a shower head, but it still completely sells as like sci-fi imagery and like these nice cramped panels for the insides of the ships and stuff. Pretty... this ship is less interesting, I think, than our main character's tank, which, once we see it, it's like a well of pipes and seats, and everything feels so scrunched. It's such a well-designed space, too. You kind of can figure out where everything is in it. You can tell how much he loves vehicles.
Feels like you're in, like, the cockpit of a rocket.
Yeah.
This feels more like the ship, the Enterprise, on Star Trek or something.
a lot cleaner, a lot
industrialized.
Yes.
So, this is kind of a Star Wars moment in A New Hope. There's a moment where they lose comms, and Luke Skywalker knocks on the head of his stormtrooper outfit that he's using.
No.
It's kind of our main character is doing the same thing here. And it's a classic sci-fi trope to have comms down too. Yeah. That happens all the time.
Toriyama takes stuff from sci-fi movies all the time. You know, he'll be the first one to admit Trunks, the whole android story. He watched Terminator and really liked that stuff. So
that does explain a lot. Moving right along here. Yes, you're gonna see it as we go through here.
Tank design's great, really consistent too. Never really simplifies it. Like, this is a far off shot. Still putting a lot of work into this design.
There's a lot of like cool textures and details. The tech differences from DBZ are apparent.
Yeah.
This isn't even as simple as a style as what's used in Dragon Ball Z. This is a lot more dynamic, I'd argue.
Simpler characters we're sort of slimming down and chibi-ifying, for lack of a better word, the figures of these characters.
Yeah, at least
so we can focus on our environments and our design, our technology.
At least we're definitely not dealing with Saiyans here with the big muscles and everything.
And even
else.
Early Dragon Ball, that's based on like a fairy tale. This is based on sci-fi. So we're shifting our focus from characters to design, and he does that perfectly.
Yeah, you could clearly see that the guy's chops are huge.
Yeah,
some really good action-packed paneling, cartooning. You get a little piece of everything in here. Great designs. Great. Oh man, this action is intense.
Yeah.
And let's quickly summarize. They've stolen a tank. They need to fight the army because the army wants their tank back.
Yeah. This is probably the most important moment of the chapter. There's water in their tank. This is a scarce resource in this world.
Right.
They have an abundance of it, we find out.
Right.
And we now know what their transporters look like. So these are a band of rogues who are looking for this big source of water can track these. Because I think I think the government probably knows where this source of water is. I don't know. I'm kind of speculating on the story going forward, but, they now know that the government is transporting water from somewhere.
And what's definitely important, like you just said, is mentioning that water is such a commodity in this story.
Yeah.
He gets shot. What? Is that water? Now that's just pouring into the desert. So, may not be what they want. And this thing shows up, drops a bomb on the...
I think that's the same ship. It's just like in bombing mode now.
Oh, they drop their
They drop the tank.
Their water tank. They drop their water tank, and then they attempt to bomb the tank. They miss, and then the tank goes forward, and
because they do the zero, or is that later? Yeah, they do this zero gravity thing where they limit the weight of the tank, then Beelzebub and Thief, I think his name is, just like push it up so they can get it out of the way.
So
their little plan.
Well, what they're really trying to do is they're trying to aim at this thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. They're trying to get the cannon up far enough they can shoot at it.
And Beelzebub is some level of demon kid, and so is his guardian.
Yeah.
And so they have superhuman strength, so they're able to lift up this thing successfully.
Look at that. Like, all the design work here. Toriyama knows how this thing moves. Like, this isn't a this is the guy you want designing a car.
Yeah.
He's putting all this work into how these things move and the engines and everything.
Probably stripped this straight from like.
Oh yeah, that's just a tank.
And then added this sci-fi element to it in addition.
Yeah, works though.
Seamless.
Yeah.
This is a great panel.
Yeah.
Fire!
This character's design, just because I'm so familiar with Dragon Ball, always throws me off. Because, like, if you look from here down, that's Vegeta.
Kind of looks
Vegeta with stubble.
Kind of looks like Nappa, too.
Yeah.
I like that this line is very easily trackable through this panel.
Yeah.
Complementing that readability there.
Good diagonal,
No deviating.
Leading our reader through the panel.
Yeah, no deviating at all. And then it successfully hits this thing, and this thing starts to go down, and then we end the chapter already. And there's only one chapter of this in here because it's Sandland and it's relatively short.
And one thing, I didn't take a note of this, so I'm just going to throw it here. There's a letter page column early on, and someone complains that Sandland is only one chapter of OM. I'm happy the readers are enjoying this manga.
Yeah.
I would not remember that later.
This must have been a manga where Toriyama had something to say or some story to tell, and then ended it on his own terms.
Yep. Clean 10 chapters, I think.
Here's our star.
Yeah.
Me and Chris are both partial to Yu Yu Hakusho. Even more so now that we've been reading the American Shonen Jump for these purposes.
Yeah.
This is just... I'm going to save myself here, and I'm going to try not to compliment the art style because I want to do that all in advance. This man is a master of his craft. Yoshiro Tagashi knows how to set up a panel, knows how to break borders, knows how to use backgrounds and textures, knows how to do close-ups, knows how to not do close-ups. Everything this man has planned like a symphony of manga art and words. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Credit to him. I love this effect. The human world, there's a zip over almost everything in it. Even Keiko's face here, which is so much lighter than the rest of her, really pushes it into the background and helps us see them from these characters' point of view when they are they're on different planes. They're on different planes of the page.
I almost never see artists capture this kind of hair lighting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of anybody in reference to even say that they do this kind of stuff. But this is how hair works. If your hair is clean and shiny enough, there is going to be some level of glare.
Yeah.
And he's showcasing that really well. Which also what this tells you is there's no sun, there's no moon. What time of day is this? Here's the school, here's shining on the hair, here's the school outfit. You know it's the afternoon to the mid-morning or what have you.
No. Cool cover page. I like Yusuke's clothes here.
It's like cartooning, and here's realistic slice of life kind of thing, what parallels. And to show even further parallels, here's art from Akira Toriyama, here's art from Yoshiro Tagashi. These are both in the same magazine, and yet they look like night and day. Here's a science fiction manga. Here is a slice of life manga, which is not what Yu Yu Hakusho is, but is
taking some elements
is dancing on the line and territory of.
And isn't this just a lie? I was I thought this was really funny, so I took note of it.
Yeah.
She's on the page before that, and I think she shows up throughout this chapter.
She's definitely at the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
At least.
I guess he's just saying this isn't focused on Keiko after so many Keiko-based chapters.
I made a note that this is the second manga in this book that made the teachers look evil.
Yeah, he looks like a mouse.
Look at this guy.
And look at his... This is something I highlighted. This is a different zip. He has to buy this. Again, I'm talking about this. That's such a unique one, too.
Yeah.
He went out of his way for this character to buy a unique zip to make him distinct from the students.
Yeah.
Shows a level of care.
Yeah. And, man, I can't compliment this art enough.
It's so good.
It's so good. Backgrounds.
And
different style choices.
I kept making notes about this.
Just these books. Just these books. Those are just lines.
Yeah.
Those are just lines.
Well, look at this, too. I thought this was a zip. I kept writing, oh, that's a unique zip. I think this is either a photostat of a texture he made, because you don't... look at that. That is not a screen tone. That's just a million little lines to sell a little bit more despair in that gray.
Yeah.
Because it's just lines going down.
Yeah. Yeah, that might have been done with a ruler even.
Yeah. There's a couple textures later on. There's maybe it's even on the next page. No. We'll see it later.
In any case, there are some simple faces in here, but he still manages to make everybody look different.
Look at these silhouettes too. Not even silhouettes, foreground or background figures.
Yeah, and
really strong, but also really flat, just flattening out their designs, but keeping the contour there. That's all you need.
Dropping the faces makes this panel look mundane, which is kind of what they're going through, and he's trying to show is this is the life of a modern day bully in school in this portion of Japan. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff they got to deal with. This is normal classroom antics. This is every day.
This one's cool too.
He's got this cartoonish devil tail coming out of the back of him. Moving right along. Wow.
That's a great cool art panel. And this is the texture I was talking about too. I don't even know how he does this. Because it's fairly, this part, I get. That's a brusher stabbing it down. This is where I think this is a photostat, where he took this texture, throw it into a copier, did a negative and then just blended them. Because I don't even know how else he would get this effect besides an insane amount of labor. I don't think he's doing.
I mean, in general, if you look at these pages, they all look like an insane amount of labor. It's not easy.
Yeah.
He has to cut.
I'm just trying to figure out where he's taking shortcuts because this is still a weekly Shonen Jump. You know, Tagashi's a man who burns himself out, so I don't doubt he's putting that effort into this. But he's got to be doing something.
Like the cuts on the tones that he uses and the way that he lines it out and streaks it out.
This is two tones blended together, maybe even three to thoroughly blend them.
Here's another tone.
Again, I've bought zips before. Again, I don't live in Japan, so I had to ship them, so they're probably cheaper there. I spent like $20 for 3 of these. But again, 2022 I bought them, so probably cheaper back then, but still, this shit's expensive. Yeah. And manga artists, manga animators, they're below the poverty line in Japan. They are not making the money to be buying.
You only make money
this
really
is
when you
lot
get
of care.
You only make money really when you get to this stage, and even at this stage, you're not even making that much.
Well, yeah, because the anime is definitely not coming out when this is. It's probably in production.
Yeah, this is such a great panel.
Yeah, it's great.
And then they're trying to show how beat up that Kuwabara is. The whole summary of this is this teacher won't let his friend pass if he gets into another fight. So Kuwabara just keeps on letting people beat up on him so that they won't get into any other fights.
Not just pass, keep his job. Because in Japan, like they mentioned, there's a note on the side. School work working papers are really hard to acquire because of how diligent Japan treats scholarly school.
It says here, Japanese high schools often forbid students from working on the basis that it interferes with academics.
Yeah.
Not too uncommon here in America either.
It's pretty easy to get working papers, I'd say.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they mentioned the working papers, but what they're really trying to say is, like, he's not going to be able to retain a job. I bet his employer would even fire him. Or if they hear from his school, his employer will fire him because in Japan at this time period, their importance was laid on academics.
And he needs that job to support his family, more or less.
Yeah, he really stresses that out. He says that his mom is a single mom who's, like, injured or something and out of work, and so the only income they're taking is through him.
Another really unique panel. Again, don't even know what he's doing here. Won't even keep commenting on it.
It's like flowers in the background.
Yeah,
like
no idea.
This might grayed out picture of flowers.
Yeah, with something over it. Yeah, I don't know. This is a really funny panel too.
Good cartoon.
Super cartoony. This one of Yusuke too. I think this panel's hilarious.
Yeah. Yusuke thinks that Kuwabara's inadequacies are quite entertaining because he did better than him in school by 5% here, you can see.
Yeah.
Here's Keiko, who said that she wasn't going to be in this chapter.
Yeah. A little bio on her, too. I think it's a little weird, but, I guess it has been a couple chapters. Every comic's someone's first comic. Make sure you know who that character is.
And not only that, but like Birthday, you know that this is only here so that you can go and make assumptions about the character based on probably astrology.
Oh, okay.
Which Japan has its own astrology and stuff.
Yeah. Really funny, beat up Kuwabara.
Yeah, it really sells that he is literally taking every punch.
Love Kuwabara's hair too. Haven't mentioned it yet, but that's such a good texture.
His face looks like crap. But his hair is on point.
Yeah.
Every time he shows up to class. Even when he's sleeping, his hair is on point.
His pompadour, he can't mess it up.
He can't.
Ruin his reputation.
Great panels, great backgrounds, great textures. Look at this cool little like animation cartooning kind of thing to show that it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Look at these lines over here. Look at this subtle like Yusuke hanging out on the back of Kuwabara's chair. You wouldn't be able to pull off unless he was a ghost.
Yeah.
Even this panel, this guy, how much time is he spending on each of these pages? You know,
I think this is the panel I highlighted.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's like hatching underneath this zipatone. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really unique. Again, pretty cool.
the man is not afraid to use different visual effects.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he has a whole lot of background in manga outside of Yu Hakusho, so he must have grown his chops somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep on keeping it moving over here.
Yeah.
Kuwabara is trying his best to pass this test so that his buddy doesn't get fired from his job. He ends up doing
scrapes
well.
by one question. Teacher decides to mess with Kuwabara, erases one of his answers, so he gets a 48 or something instead of 53.
And you can see the teacher being stressed out about it over here, and he erases the answer, and he's being watched by another teacher as he's doing so.
Oh. And fun little note: Kuwabara didn't even. I think you see his test. In order to make sure he got a perfect 53, he only answered the questions he knew the answers to. He just left some blank. I think. I wrote that down, but I might just be lying.
Ooh, try not to move.
Sorry.
This. Well, I don't think that's true. I don't think he left any questions blank. I think that was part of his point, is that he's like, that's not possible. I checked my answers and added up my score. I don't think he left anything to not be answered.
I don't know why I thought that.
I don't know. Anyway, that one gets blanked out for sure. And he almost beats up this teacher, but Yusuke kind of they're trying to paint here through these past couple chapters that Kuwabara has senses that Kuwabara doesn't even know he has. Yeah. There's been moments where Yusuke has basically influenced his life, even though Yusuke is a dead ghost. And this is one of those moments as he's trying to talk Kuwabara down, and he's really the only person around to do so. And he successfully at least holds Kuwabara down for a while, until the other teacher that had noticed that this teacher was cheating shows up. And again, I want to point out, they drop the faces on these characters. They want you to focus on what's going on over here, not as much in the background. I know that there are mangakas that would have not even done this, would have closed up on here and just shown these guys, right? Mm-hmm. But Tagashi went through the effort of putting in the background here, which is pretty cool.
Showing that there's witnesses, too, just for the scene,
Oh, yeah.
Kuwabara has there's something for Kuwabara to lose here.
So the teacher comes in, saves Kuwabara, puts down the other teacher, and Kuwabara ends up with a somewhat happy day because his friend gets to keep his job, gets to stay in school.
Yeah.
Yusuke feels pretty good about it, that he got to help out a friend. And, Botan tries to tell him that his words and his voice are insubstantial, but I think that's pretty clear that Kuwabara senses something is helping him from beyond the grave.
Botan says, it's his emotions that get across. It's a raw...
right.
Words and feelings, they don't translate, but, a raw emotion does. And clearly Yusuke cares more about Kuwabara than he's been letting on.
And maybe this is even, a cultural Japanese thing, because Shaman King was saying something basically the same.
Yeah.
That feelings and emotion are what really strengthens a ghost's attachment to other ghosts or the real world or what's going on around them.
Yeah, and chapter ends with Kuwabara thanking Yusuke, or thanking whatever affected him. He has some understanding that something helped him out, and he thanks him. Just showing Kuwabara's spiritual awareness and his gratitude, I guess. Funny chapter page. It just lets you know what the chapter's about, and also,
So this is the only page of the editor's visits to Japan that I think I even got anything out of that's worth mentioning.
Uh-huh.
This is the best of 3, and all this dude really does is go into shopping centers and tells you about the cool stuff that he saw and what to visit if you're going to go and visit Japan and why to visit those and the best times and things like that. He still spends some time kind of making fun of Japanese culture to a degree, mostly because it's so different. Like he mentions here. So the district's train station transformed into a solid squirming block of human flesh during rush hour. New York City is the same thing. There's no reason to describe humans like that. It's not funny. You're just putting people down. But there's a lot of cool stuff in here. This guy, Benjamin, definitely did the best out of everything. I guess he's our graphic designer for this book. It's a fun little cover page, like Chris was saying. Yep. A part 1 of this temporary resurrection story. So we are moving on to a new portion of Yu Hakusho here.
Yeah.
Keiko is definitely in this chapter, that's for sure.
Yep. Big Keiko page.
I want to say big Keiko chapter in general.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Snot Girl?
No.
There's this whole page right here, the interaction, actually both these pages, the interactions between her and her friends really reminds me of Snot Girl. For a little while, they're not on her team, but then they realize that they're her friends, so they try to be on her team and be supportive and stuff. And I'd imagine that Brian Lee O'Malley takes a lot from manga, so I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't read Yu Hakusho before. And here's me that glare in the hairstyle again.
Yeah.
Really like that effect. Interesting shot, just the like shoes of the girls and stuff. Just one eye, show the nervousness or like the faith that she has in what she's talking about. And then these 2 pages break style completely.
Yeah. Again, I don't even know what this is.
It looks good though.
But look at this panel too. This is a really good 1-point perspective, like city shot, establishing shot. Really good, really small. Good cartooning here on Atsuku. And then again, this whole texture. Great.
So
that must be a zip though, because of how it's cut or how media is applied to it.
Yeah, I'd imagine. So she's doing her best to help Yusuke stay.
These panels have a real dreamlike quality.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to pour on is it's a dream for Keiko that Yusuke is still alive and hopefully will actually come back.
This is when that sappy track plays in Yu Hakusho. I think it becomes Kurama's theme. I think.
Okay. Anyway, Botan shows up and is like, "You get to come back. We're gonna bring you back temporarily."
Yeah.
I don't remember for what reason.
The body decays too much if you don't have a soul in it for more than a month.
Right. And then he makes this, so I'm like the batteries. The soul's like a human battery, like a Walkman. Which is outdated reference, but you should still probably get that. And she says, anyway, even if you avoid that, you won't want to go wandering around like a zombie, which it doesn't seem like Yusuke even cares.
Yeah.
And he's going to go and wander around anyway.
Really cinematic transition here. I really dig this.
Yeah.
And again, a good diagonal.
Yeah. Again, with the readability and showing you where your eye is supposed to go and stuff.
No, again, I don't want to call pages like this cluttered, but certainly filled and probably the best at these sort of pages in this whole book.
He mentions that he's been floating around aimlessly for, to us, chapters now.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, that does sound pretty boring. And so he's absolutely thrilled to be going back to his body. It's no surprise to me that he doesn't follow instructions at all and decides to go out as soon as he's back in his body.
Botan's known Yusuke for too long to think he will just lie here. Like, I don't know.
Like this. I'm Koenma, by the way, remember?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him in a couple chapters.
It's been like 6 chapters.
Moving right along. There's this, I'm surprised this even made it into Shonen Jump. This is a plug for another manga that Yoshiro Tagashi is working on.
Yeah.
And just right in the middle of this chapter of Yu Hakusho, probably permanently, with Yu Hakusho. And I looked this manga up. This Church, it's called Church Dejinshi.
Okay.
It's a self-published manga for conventions. It's like a fan comic or a fanzine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So this didn't actually see actual syndication or publication.
Yeah.
If you wanted this, you had to get it through Tagashi himself.
Of what? Is it, you said it's like a fanzine. Is it like a...
Church. It's a manga.
Church stuff? Oh, okay.
It's a manga.
All right, yeah.
It didn't see legitimate publication.
I thought you were saying it was like referencing something.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just a manga.
Sweet.
Neither of us will never ever know anything about because we can't get our hands on it.
Yeah.
I even looked it up to buy it on eBay or something. No such luck. Cruising right along. Here's some cool cartooning. This looks like something out of a Disney animated movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Like Mickey Mouse level type stuff.
Showing Yusuke's new drive for life, I guess.
Yeah.
His new appreciation.
These panels make him look totally unnassuming too. He looks very young, boyish.
And he's dropped the pompadour or whatever, so he looks a lot more innocent than bully Yusuke.
But what's really important in these next couple pages is to show that Yusuke really is stronger than he looks in more ways than one. We find out as the manga progresses.
It's a good page.
Quick to grab this dude's neck. Chokes him a little bit, but really slams the dude onto the ground. Botan,
these beads of sweat.
because he thought he was some pipsqueak, and then out of nowhere he shows this crazy strength. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. Look at this dude is like 2 times the size of Yusuke, and he takes him down no problem.
Using that effect again that I highlighted earlier.
Such interesting textures.
Yeah.
And then here's Botan complaining that he insists on tempting fate. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, Yusuke can't even hear anymore because he's not a ghost.
No. And we got Keiko again.
Yep.
Who is being bullied, and her and her friends are being bullied.
Yeah, more. I think harassed is almost a better word, because like
Yeah. Keiko
he's trying to have his way with her.
basically, yeah. You could get a little smoochy face or something like that.
Yeah.
She slaps the heck out of him, and this does not pan out well because now they're all like pissed off and stuff. But at the same time, Kuwabara's friends are walking into the fray.
Yeah.
So these guys, he's pissed. He goes to hit Keiko, but a shoe gets tossed at the back of his head. That shoe comes from one of Kuwabara's friends. They try to help Keiko and her friends out, and it looks like they successfully do, and the bullies walk away and stuff.
Yeah.
But then this dude shows up. This dude, Daisuke Motomoto, who is the leader of this crew of dudes that were bullying Keiko and her friends. And this is a real problem for Kuwabara's friends because this dude's got like a legendary bully resume, and you don't mess with him, and he's the leader of the group, and has hobbies like karaoke. So he's gonna try and beat the heck out of these dudes. But Keiko isn't even having that. Keiko walks up to him, smacks him in the back of the head with his trunk.
Yeah.
Pretty daring of her. He grabs her. Another more harassment. There's this 14-year-old tattoo on his cheek over here.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was weird and different. I don't even know why it's there, other than I guess to show that they're on the same age or something like that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Yusuke's in an arcade listening to music, playing pinball.
Yep.
So
Living his life.
it is what it is.
Whatever time he has left.
And then I thought that this was odd, but it ends on this, which is probably the most, a lot like the other mangas that we're reviewing in this particular issue. This is like this is becoming an ongoing manga. It is starting to go into.
We're finally doing multiple part stories.
Yeah.
After,
So this was like part 1 or part 2. This was part 1.
Yeah.
And we'll be moving on to part 2 of this story, which is going to have a lot more parts than just 2 parts, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I believe, not sure, but I think his resurrection arc.
And worth checking out, especially because a lot of these manga. If you're fans of the anime, you've seen all this stuff. This is completely new to me. I know Skylar's read the Yu Hakusho manga. This isn't in the anime.
No,
so
it's not.
Cool to see.
Before we continue Naruto, I really think that Togashi is good at anything and everything. I think this dude could draw anything.
Yeah.
From demons to humans to backgrounds to cities to textures to...
Again, Yu Hakusho is not, even when it becomes more of a shonen, it's not that shonen-y, especially in the art. But again, year or 2 later, drops one of the most popular shonen of all time, Hunter x Hunter, especially amongst this modern demographic. So,
yeah.
Really versatile artist.
And then we move on to our last, but for sure not least, story in Shonen Jump here.
I can't talk much about this cover. It's good, but this chapter surprised the hell out of me as someone who's read Naruto. There's a ton of foreshadowing here.
They've done that a bunch in these cover pages.
But like this is chapter 4. I'm talking about like there's a final war arc of Naruto, and this is when this pays off. Like 600 chapters later. Kishimoto's not a guy who gets credit like Oda for pre-planning. Shows he clearly does.
This was in issue 1. There was a double-page color spread that showed all of the characters.
Yeah, no, I remember, but these aren't here, and that's the big things I'm highlighting. The slug and the snake.
Snail guy, snake guy. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Because the toad was definitely there.
Yeah.
In any case. We got Naruto.
Oh, only other thing. This is probably the only kanji of the month that I think is worth highlighting, because they talk about the origins of the word Hokage. And I think that's good for the Naruto.
And this is something I should have brought up more, too, is they do this in every single chapter.
Yeah. This is the only one. I read all these, but this is the only one I thought necessary to highlight, just because they talk about what it means. It means essentially fire shadow. Because it's like, and I think they explain it later on in Naruto, that it's sort of like the Hokage is the shadow of the village. He's supposed to represent the will of the fire. He's supposed to be manipulated by the fire. He's the image behind it, I guess.
Got it.
Cool. I think it's cool that they explain that, because, like, again, as a Japanese reader, you kind of understand what they're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah, build some
As
background.
an English reader, that's just a word. That means leader of Konohagara.
Yeah, it gives you some much needed background.
Yep.
So that's useful. Here's an example of a part where they didn't take the kanji out to put in English, so neither of us has any idea what that says.
No translation underneath it either. This must be so insubstantial.
Yeah. But this is all in English.
Yeah.
This might have even been drawn in English, too. Yeah.
I like this interaction between Sakura and Naruto, just because even later on in the chapter, these characters are at odds with one another. Shows like the basis of their friendship, I guess. They have some commonalities that Sakura's kind of repressing. And cool visual of having like an inner me for such a reserved character. So we can see what she's really thinking without having like thought balloons.
That's basically how her character is portrayed all the time, is that she's constantly thinking two different ways. She's saying something and thinking something else.
Yeah. Enter Kakashi. We saw him last chapter, but this is really where he joins the story.
Kakashi is such a cool character, too. He gets cooler as the story goes on. Here he seems a little like...
doofy?
I would say that superior. Like, he's really trying to show that his cadets don't have the chops that they need to do what they're doing. So he comes off as a little pretentious, and I think that will drop fairly quickly as Naruto goes on, because Kakashi is one of the more humble ninjas I'm aware of in this series.
Yeah, and he's kind of putting on an act right now.
Right, and you have to do that.
Because they mention, like... maybe it's even this page, half the cadet, or 66% of the cadets, they're not making it to becoming Shonen, which is the rank of ninja that are gonna become. So they got to start weeding out the lessers.
Yeah, so that's his job in a way.
Yep. Is this where he asks them about their likes and dislikes? Yeah, I love this page. It's really funny because he just, as Sakura says on the next page, he says a lot of words to say nothing.
Yeah.
My likes are, I'm not going to tell you. My dislikes are, I don't want to tell you even more.
Yeah. Nice way of saying none of your business.
Yeah.
I really love the way that this art... Well, I'm really bad at remembering the Kishimoto. Kishimoto uses setting really well. He will drop a setting, fairly early in the area. So here that they're in a school. Maybe not establish it too much. Same thing here. Now they're outside. They're in the gym or training area, and they're going to be here for a while.
Also, I love this comedic delivery.
Yeah.
Based on my first impressions, I have to say I hate you. Yeah.
He grows fond of them quickly, though.
I like these 2 pages. Really shows the dichotomy of these 2 characters is the core of the story. So we got to establish that, and we establish Naruto as sort of, he talks about all the things he likes, and even when he's talking about his dislikes, he's just talking about ramen again, which is the thing he likes.
Yeah.
So, and his main goal is to seek respect.
Yeah.
So he seeks to uplift other people or have them uplift him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have Sasuke, only talks about the things he hates, and talks about he wants to kill one person.
Yeah, that's his big. Is Sasuke already has plans to kill a specific person, I believe.
Yeah,
he doesn't
elaborate.
He doesn't allude to that at all. But
and restore his clan, which is something we haven't talked about at all. This is our first mention of something's off with this Uchiha clan that Sasuke belongs to.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't think I picked up on that, so that'll be interesting as we go on to see why that needs to be reestablished and who his clan is and what the background is.
Yep.
It's interesting even to see that these people came from different backgrounds because you don't see a lot of that in these early chapters.
Yeah.
I don't know that Naruto doesn't hang out with all of the other kids. But then as you read Naruto, you realize that he's kind of alone. Apparently, Sasuke is alone, and then Sakura's got to be alone in the same format. Yeah. So maybe this is a thing in Naruto where when you're in a clan and you're a kid, sometimes you're the last. You're the descendant of this huge clan, and so you've got a lot riding on you.
And I think Sakura does have friends, especially as we learn later on. These 2 are just supposed to be like mirrors of one another, so they're very similar in a lot of ways.
Right, and Sakura acts as like a bridging ground. To them
she's
for a little while.
She's almost the common person in this group, the common ninja.
Art is the art here is very cultural seeming, huh? There's a lot of like little subtle like this stuff, the like little brands and things.
Yeah.
Because it looks like kanji, but used in a different format in a way.
Yeah, the leaf symbol. I don't
really
think that looks like Naruto's clan symbol, but I know it's not.
No, it's just a red circle from what I remember in the anime. This is really simple. just clouds. These are just lines on a paper.
Oh yeah.
But it's showing time has progressed. That he's given them a moment to think and stuff.
Really good background.
I would say too that I feel like this manga is the closest and easiestly translatable to anime, just because of the way he sets up shots. Looks like exact shots that you pull out of an anime. Like I remember seeing scenes like this even where you get, this would be the TV screen for a second or two, but you'd get this on the screen, and they'd show you all the reactions and stuff very easily to translate. Which means that its readability is amazing.
And inherently cinematic, too.
Yeah. Look at you don't see any wind, but you can see the wind.
Yes.
That's super subtle, but really effective.
Even the way the leaves are going.
Yeah. It takes some background thought on what you're putting into the panels and what you're trying to sell across to your reader. I like that he says that the test that we're about to perform has a 66 rate of failure. So most people don't pass this test. Yeah. This could be a lie. This might be just intimidating to try and give these kids the incentive they need to do this properly.
Do they? I don't think it's in these chapters. Okay.
Cool action.
Yep.
Sizzle. Cool onomatopoeias. So they're being put to this test. They must pass it.
Talking about Kakashi, kind of think he's above them. He shows up late to their own meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So they have to capture this bell from Kakashi, and they're each going to try their different techniques.
Yeah.
Kakashi calls Naruto a dunce.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly mean.
And I love, again, talking about the English translation team, this is all them doing a lot of cool onomatopoeia. Not even onomatopoeia, just like fonts.
Yeah, credit to Joe Duffy. Who knows comics very well. Naruto attempts his best, but gets triggered, or almost gets, is clearly not ready for the challenge, or at least doesn't tackle it the proper way first round.
And like I don't want to say good ninja, but probably better trained ninja, these two hold back so they can start analyzing what Kakashi's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Fun sketch. That's about all that is.
Early sketch too. This is like supposed to be the first.
And designs almost finished. I think this is the only thing that's not in that early. This in the shoes. Only thing that's not in that first chapter of Naruto.
How about this SoundCloud rapper page of Naruto?
Yeah.
He literally looks like Lil Twist or something.
Yeah, with this little half-eaten lollipop or something.
Yeah, and his grill.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, this is if Naruto was a rapper, this is what he would look like.
That's really funny.
A, B. Anyway. Can't spend. Wow, look at this shot. That's some establishing shot if I ever saw one. That's where they're taking their test. That's what they have to use to surprise Kakashi, and that's all they got is this big open field filled with grass and trees and all that kind of stuff.
This is fun. The panel border is kind of implicit here because, these are almost two different panels, but there's no border. Very
uncommon of his style to do something like that too. I'd say. So this is if I was complimenting earlier how well this would translate to an anime, this would be harder to translate to the anime.
That's like a screen wipe almost.
Yeah,
that's what that's showing, I guess.
Let me teach you your first ninjutsu skill, the art of the trained body.
Is this when he pulls out the book? Yeah.
Boom! Make out paradise. So Kakashi then sits there and hangs out reading his manga or wherever it is.
Yeah.
And all of the kids then try to take him down.
Just Naruto.
Mostly, rather Naruto tries first.
They hold back and they start analyzing what he's doing. And fun to show the difference between these characters and their training. Naruto, he's putting together strategies on the fly. As we find out throughout this chapter, he actually does some clever stuff. But he's completely missing all the hand signs and jutsu that Kakashi is weaving that these two are picking up on, and also picking up on for the audience. Sort of showing Naruto's naivete as a ninja.
So, I don't really like when they do this.
Okay.
They just put blank words over it. It makes it hard to read, and it removes the flow of my readability of the comic. But this is pretty good. This is a cool panel too, showing Kakashi's ability and what he can do.
Give him the star eye. I don't even know what that is.
Foreshadowing a little bit, though, right?
No, it's the wrong eye.
But, like, his eye has something weird with it.
Yeah, sure.
I know. I'm not saying they're telling us. I'm saying it's foreshadowing for what's to come.
Yeah. I think it's just an effect, but still.
Right, but why?
And he's using this ridiculous attack name. I think, yeah, they even say he's just putting a board up Naruto's ass. His butt.
They're both buffoons.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of fun with him.
Here's some more of that writing without panels, or without the letterboxes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, too, the transitions between pages are a little rough. Like, I'm not exactly clear that Naruto pulls a couple of stars out and shoots them at Kakashi here.
Yeah.
And I think this happens a couple times throughout this particular chapter.
And again, unlike with Dragon Ball, we're a couple of 100 chapters in, this is early days for all these mangaka. They have years of experience, but they're still a little rough around the edges, as opposed to someone like Toriyama.
Yeah, and, sometimes with those transitions, you can leave a lot of reading between the panels. There's not a lot to be left reading between the panels in this particular chapter in Naruto, because it's pretty much boom, 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 boom. This is the order of what things are happening in, and, there's not, you just don't need to do that.
Showing the real difference between characters. Here's Naruto's. He comes up with this really smart plan on the fly to ambush Kakashi.
So, where he's, still in the water as he's thinking, and he's not drowning, and then he pulls himself out of the water, and then this is where he's going to enact his plan.
Yep.
Was this like a clone, I think, or something like that?
It might be. I think that's just him, and then he launches the clones.
Yeah. Boom! Bunch of clones out of the water. Pretty surprising to Kakashi. Doesn't look like he even knows how to handle it, but...
Yeah. Again, this is a forbidden jutsu. None of these guys have ever been exposed to this. Kakashi only knows it because of how high level he is. They're completely blown away by Naruto's ability to do this.
And both of his co-students are impressed, I'd say.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good double page.
Yeah.
Where would you say the focus is right here?
Yeah.
Probably right here, right? This is what I mean, in regards to that One Piece doubles page.
Yeah, you want the focus where your characters are, or this is point of the action.
I got no complaints over this one. Even the onomatopoeia was placed, if this was kanji, it was placed perfectly. And it was, the onomatopoeia was a really good pick.
Yeah, I gotcha.
That does a good job enough. So he surprises Kakashi, and he gets the bell off of him.
Yeah. And then, I think Kakashi gets it back by killing his clone. Or at least, really bloodying it. Yeah,
so it sounds like you're also a little confused on this page. That's my last note, I'm not sure what's happening here.
Cool, because just from reading the chapter, I know the training exercise isn't done, but he does something to Naruto.
Kakashi is doing something to Naruto.
And I think we're not supposed to know, just because, he's too fast for him, but it still affects the readability of the chapter.
And not only that, but this is the last page of the last manga in this book before they jump into some really less than stellar articles and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're left on this until next issue, and I have no idea what's happening here. One Naruto's laughing, one Naruto's holding the other Naruto, one Naruto's getting his butt handed to him, and then the other Naruto looks like he's watching the whole thing happen.
Is that Naruto laughing? Oh,
it's there's
weird.
No other character, so it has to be him.
And he is laughing.
But then, he's getting beat up, that he's so confused. The clone jutsu, I had a problem with in another chapter of this.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. I'm hoping as soon as the next chapter starts, we'll find out what happened on this page. This was an end of chapter page, so the mangaka that was making this knew that he'd have to pick this up in the next chapter.
Yeah.
And again, ongoing story here. The first couple chapters in Naruto, they were lessons learned, show you who Naruto is.
The first three chapters are fairly self-contained.
Build personalities, build characters. Now we got an ongoing story finally.
Yeah.
This was cool.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit earlier. We do a letters section.
Yeah, they mention Yu Hakusho starts airing on Adult Swim at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And back then, you didn't have no streaming services, and you barely had TiVo. So if you wanted to watch Yu Hakusho, you were staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning. that's a dang shame for how amazing an anime this was.
They mentioned something we missed, that Beelzebub's dad looks just like Dabura from Dragon Ball.
It's like but like the Shonen Jump guy
he has no idea.
Puts that down immediately. They certainly look similar. I think it's safe they're not actually the same, though. Their heads look a little different. Their personalities aren't the same. Also, why would Akira Toriyama try and tie like Sandland?
I don't think he is. I just think he's using the same design for his devil.
Yeah. Which is not uncommon with mangaka to like reuse a design across different mangas and stuff. I liked this thing. I think this was cool. If I was reading this and had the inclination, I might have gone and submitted something. Yeah. But I gotta say, they put a lot of restrictions on the submissions here. You can't draw any of the characters that are in this book. You have to draw your own characters. You have to come up with your own ideas, and then maybe, if you're lucky, it'll end up in here somewhere. Yeah. And it's written like a pirate, because I guess the Jump guy is a pirate. This is like one of the first times I've even noticed that.
I think it's like a culmination of like all the stuff in the manga or something. He's like a pirate ninja.
Yeah. Which, I think that that's just appealing to this age demographic.
Okay. You're probably right.
Here's an Amazon ad in the year 2003.
Yeah. Buy some DBZ.
I just thought, I didn't even know Amazon.com was a thing in 2003.
Yeah.
There's an ad for Duelist League that I've talked about that I've played at KB Toys and Toys R Us's. These were a lot of fun, especially for young Yu-Gi-Oh people, because it was free to enter. It was relatively kitchen table style instead of competitive, and then you got to earn cards by playing promos and things of that nature. It was a lot of fun. Cool. This is, I wouldn't call this an ad. This is like an overview of the new Yu-Gi-Oh set that was coming out at the time that introduced a bunch of cool archetypes of the card game. Rituals, Destiny board, which is like a spell and trap card version of Exodia. Bunch of staple cards that people still use today, like Torrential Tribute and Mage Power. A lot of sweet stuff came out of this set. This was, again, 2003. The game was still relatively new, and they were doing a lot of cool things with it already. They're really pouring on. How many Yu-Gi-Oh pages do we even have right here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Yu-Gi-Oh pages in a row.
One Piece games.
We got both One Piece games here. There's 2 of them. There's one here, there's one here. They were Japanese only. They were only ever Japanese. They never got translations. They never came over here.
Makes sense.
There might be fan translations online, though. That kind of stuff happens. Ultimate Muscle releases in 2003 in America as well.
This one did come out in America?
It did come out in America, and...
That's very Japanese.
And at this point, I believe 4Kids television was on the network, and that's where they were airing things like One Piece, Shaman King, and Ultimate Muscle.
Huh.
So pretty cool.
Wind Waker.
I did not bother.
I think this article was cool. This is one of my favorite games of all time, so I did read it.
Okay.
And this is a really good time capsule, just because when this game came out, it's after Ocarina of Time. People want another game like that. This game, completely different art style, very weird art style to Americans. So, they're basically trying to sell you on this game that Zelda fans did not want to play, and this has gone down as one of the best Zelda games of all time. So, neat to see this period.
And I don't really know that it's fitting for Shonen Jump.
No, it's not, but I still read it. I just like this game.
It is Japanese, I suppose. It is by Nintendo. Video games are popular. You could see why they would include this here if you think about it.
Yeah.
Here's
the Dragon Ball.
Woo! Bobbity Saga.
Majin Vegeta.
Dragon Ball Z, the card game, only lasted as long as the anime. This is a dictation of what was airing on Toonami at the time.
Yeah.
And also a dictation of that this card game and the anime was soon to end.
Did they go into GT?
They did do a brief GT thing, but the power creep was so huge that the game got canceled super quick.
Gotcha.
Beautiful Joe. I got a note on it. Released in 2003, along with the other Capcom 5, they call it. Most of those Capcom 5 are unheard of, except for the big one, which was Resident Evil 4.
Oh.
Which just got a remake this year. Also a 20th anniversary celebration of the game.
That game is crazy good, by the way.
Really, really underrated here.
I like Beautiful Joe, too.
It's just a really fun art.
Yeah.
I've never played this game, but just from the art in the game,
the aesthetic is great.
I'd love to try it out. That's great.
Yep. And is that next issue we're getting that interview with Yoshiro Tagashi that we talked about wanting, so that'll be fun.
And here's some different arts from him as well. Like, here's 2 good solid art comparisons.
Is this his like a Tory bot?
I don't even know. I don't know what that's from. They mentioned Hunter x Hunter over here though, which is
they issue 2 or 3 they mentioned that they did a spot on Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, great.
So they've talked about it before.
Hunter x Hunter is going to make it to Shonen Jump, so bear with us.
Oh, cool.
I wonder if they'll keep this lineup for the next issue.
I think
we will find out. We'll find out. It says it's on sale in April, so classic with comic book releases. They would have comics solicited for a certain month, but I'd say 85% of the time, it had come out the month before the month that it was supposed to be solicited.
Yeah.
You can look at Marvel Comics and DC Comics, and that's just the history, so it looks like this happened the same way.
Oh.
And then we got to the end of Shonen Jump, where they tell you that you're reading the wrong way and give you a little ad on the back cover.
I'll show you one of the covers from Naruto. Good art.
Oh, yeah, the covers of the manga volumes.
The volume releases,
specifically, yeah.
More Yu-Gi-Oh stuff.
Here's where I ripped out a subscription thing.
Oh, cool.
And that is the back cover, which puts us at the end. So as you can tell through this issue, there was like next to nothing to cover in regards to like articles.
Yeah.
The articles sucked.
Big bummer, because last time we got a lot of mileage out of that Toriyama interview, and the Oda interview less so, but still a lot.
Yeah, and but even if the articles sucked, every single manga in here was sweet.
Yeah.
My least favorite being One Piece, just because like you guys heard my complaints. Next we got the May 2003 issue of Shonen Jump with Yu-Gi on the cover. They're going to cover some Dragon Ball GT stuff.
Oh, cool.
We're going to keep on trucking in regards to that. Plenty of stuff to get excited with. Stay tuned to our weekly Wednesday Warrior episodes where we review new comics weekly comics. I think that wraps us up. How about you, Chris?
I'm good, yeah.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Have a good one.